What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We've got a little new setup here, some new equipment, so hopefully it's a better podcast. So let's go ahead and start this off. It's me again, Danny.
Rob Holmes, and this is
I'm Kevin York, and I guess I'm here to tell my story.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So it's great to have you here, Kevin. So why don't you? What branch were you in? Why don't you go
So
start with
I
there?
was Army, and I joined in January of '02, and served on active duty until December of '07.
Nice.
Had a little break in service, and then I joined the Army Reserves for about a year and a half, and that was an experience.
all right. Well, let's break that down, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we bring everybody in here. We love to hear their story.
Yeah. It's great.
It's just like we're sitting at the bar, which we almost look like we're drinking. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that, but
Just adult beverages.
yeah. Well, I mean, I got tea. I'm gonna go with the weak stuff. I'm going to British,
Adult juice. How
So-
dare you? You got away from the British, and now you're going back. Huh?
you know how it is. Tea party, man. Tea party.
Yeah.
Having a tea party.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So
Alright.
you said you joined the Army in 2002?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So where'd that take you?
So initially, I went to basic training down at Fort Benning, Georgia. 14 weeks OSIT training. You go down there and learn all about being an infantryman. After I got out of there, I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington for the entirety of my Army days, which it was really great. One of my best friends from high school was actually stationed up there also.
Oh, nice.
So, kind of having somebody there that I know and
Yeah.
had a good relationship with, I think really helped me out.
Yeah.
Just kind of, because for me, that was really the first time for me being away from home.
Mm-hmm.
So
How old were you?
I was 19.
19.
at the
Oh,
time.
nice.
So right out of high school?
So, no, I graduated high school when I was 17.
Oh.
So I'd gone to college for 3 half semesters.
Smart guy.
So
Yeah, exactly.
it was kind of the whole I really need to find something else to do because college isn't really for me. I'm not really able to focus into any one thing right now, but I need to figure it out because I come from Wichita Falls, Texas, which is a town of about 100,000 people. And it's
Nice
right
size.
it's right on the Red River, between right there at the Red River where Texas and Oklahoma meet.
Shout out to
So-
Red River.
There you go.
Never been there before, but
Yeah.
shout out to them.
I thought everything was bigger in Texas. 100,000? I mean, that's
Hey,
like
man.
change, isn't it? Drop in the
Well-
bucket for Texas?
The towns aren't really the things that are bigger in
oh.
Gotcha,
Texas.
gotcha,
I mean,
gotcha.
you look at me. Obviously, I'm a big dude.
But look at us.
so-
We're all kind of, I think, pushing that at this point. But
I didn't. Wichita Falls is, at least whenever I was growing up, it was a really great place to grow up. But the town is fairly stagnant. For the most part, there's an Air Force base there. There's a university there.
right.
But aside from that,
It's a one horse town, or was it just a little bigger than that?
It was kind of an oil boom industry type place, but there's no other real growth there. So
Right.
companies would move away, and whether you'd end up either being a farmer or working in some industry.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
It's just
agree.
one of those
I
once you're
agree.
there, you
You know,
never
it's
leave
like-
kind of places.
I'm all about. I don't mind doing hard work and stuff like that. Obviously, joining the infantry, you're going to do a lot of hard work doing that. But
Oh yeah.
So
So you saying you were stationed and where? You spent the whole time one unit?
yes, so I was stationed at Fort Lewis. I
Okay.
got there. By the time I got through with basic, it was June of '02. So when I went there, the striker brigades were just starting up. Like
All right.
one of the my company didn't even have strikers when we got there. We were still in Humvees for about 8 months before we
Right.
got strikers. So
So the Striker, I think, is the upgraded version of our LAVs, if I
Correct.
recall. It just
Yep.
has more stuff to it, and
yep. So
and stuff.
I want to say there was 10 different variants of strikers.
I think we have like 4.
So they have ICVs,
the bottom of the barrel.
infantry carriers,
The basics.
We started
recon
it.
vehicles, medical vehicles, fire support vehicles, and now they even have they have a Striker that has a 105, and I believe
An actual artillery gun.
Mhm.
Oh man, that's insane. And you also have one with the M134, I believe, with the Gatling gun on top. Dude, this
Yep.
is so
I
cool.
believe that's the newest Striker that came out. I
Yeah.
can't remember if it's a 25 millimeter or 30 millimeter.
Crazy thing
Well-
is, man, can you imagine how much ammo that thing goes through in a
Oh,
minute?
man.
You probably are done in a minute after
Oh, yeah.
shooting that thing. I mean,
Oh yeah.
That's all you need is a minute, though. I mean,
yeah. Well, depends on who you are. Right? I'm gonna be able to pull off 30 seconds. It's all a matter of,
yeah. I'll ride the bull for a minute.
So,
So-
hey, you know what? You got yours. It's all. And I'm just. This is all joking aside, folks.
I'm gonna have to edit this.
It's all good, right?
Oh,
See, this is like sitting on our
and you're only drinking
yeah,
tea.
yeah. I'm only drinking tea. You're lucky tonight. Lucky
good.
tonight. I
That's
could be
good.
getting, double barrel going here.
You know,
Hey, hey, don't play fingers.
lightweight
What's that?
Marines.
Don't
You
play
know.
fingers.
We already know what that is. You just can't put it on there because the sponsor.
Whatever. Anyways, so
So anyway, I was put into an anti-tank unit, which at the time they didn't have tactics like TTPs for Striker anti-tank units. We had
Really?
3 ATGM Strikers, anti-tank guided missile Strikers.
Right. Which is basically the tow missile, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Which is funny because we had those in the Marine Corps. I'm surprised they didn't take from our doctrine since we've been using those things for years.
Well, the vehicle platform was really what the brigade was based and built around. Instead of
Right. Capabilities.
of light infantry or infantry and Humvees or even mechanized infantry, the Striker Brigade as a whole was a brand new thing to the military.
Right.
So a lot of what we did was going through and seeing what worked, seeing what doesn't work, and kind of building the doctrine for an anti-tank company. Like every time that we would go through and do something, we had to write everything down and be like, here's these reports, and this is what we did, this is what works, this is what doesn't work.
Right.
So it was a really good time for us, for me especially, to be in the position that I was, because I'm still a junior soldier learning to do all this stuff, but at the same time I'm writing the book on how we do it.
Right.
So
That's how doctrine comes about, man. So,
Yeah.
so
I've been there and done that, just like you have.
So the thing about anti-tank companies is, at least within the Striker brigades, I think the military as a whole is more going away from anti-tank platforms, because apparently that's what they use the Air Force now.
Oh, the
With the
A-10s?
fighter jets and more fighter jets and bombs and stuff like that. They'll,
Right.
just go over and bomb all the tanks for the
Yeah.
most part.
I mean, we
But-
still have our. I know that the Marine Corps, even though we got rid of our tanks, we still have anti-tank platforms like the the armored between the armored Humvees and new vehicles coming out. That I'm sure
Yeah.
they're probably got the same thing, ATGMs on it, and then of course there are LAVs, and so there's a lot of anti-tank platforms. It just kind of stinks
Yeah.
we don't have any tanks to help because that tank is huge.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
best way to take it out. I mean,
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you got range on it, which is nice. But at the same time, it's nice having a main gun from a tank there too. So whatever they're doing, I guess it's
That's
they've got a plan
that's
for
the
it.
Army's job now, apparently.
Yeah, we try to give you our
Tankers.
tanks from right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Army right now is also upgrading to the M1A3. So right now the newest, well, I wouldn't say the newest because now they do have the A3, but they also have the M1A2 Set V2.
Right.
Is basically the main newest tank in the Army, but here in the next couple of years they're going to be coming out with the A3.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it just probably has upgrades on it, like the look how the 2 had. I think they put the coax and they put a couple other extras
commanders
in there, and
commander sites and stuff like that, upgrading
Right.
the commander sites and things like that.
yep.
So
And it's cool. That's all cool. I mean, we should be advancing,
Yeah.
technology. So
Absolutely.
our military should be up in there.
oh yeah,
we
oh
don't
yeah,
want to fall behind.
yep. So the company that I was in, being an anti-tank company, a lot of people didn't really know, like how are we going to use an anti-tank company, especially, at the time we were getting ready to go to Iraq, which Iraq did have, a pretty robust tank
Oh yeah, a tank
population, I guess, is the
Absolutely.
word that I'll come up with.
Well, you had everybody at that time. Yeah, yeah. Back in Iraq, you
So-
had the Marines, you had the Army. We had other, well, not many other nations, but we did have some from
Sprinkled in
helping
there.
out, and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
helping out here and
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So yeah, we had a good plethora of.
But I think for the most part, Iraq's tank battalions and just their tank community altogether was, ours was far superior to what they had, and after they came in with the whole, bomb and everything, and then our tanks rolled in and stuff like that, there wasn't really much of a tank presence for us to.
Right. Were they still
fight
using
with.
I think they believe they're still using the Russian T-72s. Is that what they were in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Even possibly T-50s. I don't know. There's some old tanks in there too. I'm believing.
So, got to the unit in probably June of 02 and went to the field pretty much the whole time between then and we finally deployed in November of 03. So we were one of the first units that did an NTC rotation and then a JRTC rotation back to back.
Okay, so let me make you understand this. C rotation. What'd you guys do
So
for C rotation?
NTC and JRTC, National Training Center and Joint Readiness Training Centers,
Right.
are what the Army uses basically to certify a unit. Say, hey, this unit is ready to deploy.
Right.
So NTC, obviously being NTC is in Southern California down in the Mojave Desert. So, and then JRTC is at Fort Polk, Louisiana. So you have a desert environment and also a jungle environment. Well,
Right.
not really a jungle environment,
Jungle
but
fish. Yeah.
it's horrible
Yeah.
at Fort Polk.
Oh, I don't blame you, man.
So, and both of those locations are Army CTCs,
What's that stand for?
combat.
Training commands or
I can't remember if it's combat training,
training
center.
centers or okay,
Something like that.
something to that effect.
Apparently, I've had enough. Very
Hey, you're good, man. You're good.
But anyway, that's where they go to get certified. So we went down and did NTC. Overall, they said that we did a good job, but you know how the military is for the most part. Unless you really screw it up, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, it was
good job.
great."
Yeah.
You know.
You hit the wickets on the checklist. You're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
80,
Yep.
80s gravy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have
So-
at it.
80s deployable.
So we
That's
were
pretty
down
much
at
it.
Yeah.
NTC for a month, and then we went back to Fort Lewis for 2 weeks, while they sent all of our equipment to Fort Polk. And it was a crazy turnaround, but I mean it was really good training for all of us, because you can get used to that desert environment a little bit,
Right.
and then also, I guess you could say you get a little bit of conditioning in that humid environment because it was May, June that we were down in Fort Polk, and it's just humid and hot and
Right.
nasty.
Right. Well, at least
So-
it prepared you for Iraq. Iraq is probably
Yeah.
one of those horrible, humid places.
Mhm.
Probably one of the worst places.
Oh man.
Nasty.
Oh, it's
So
horrible.
it was
It's not disgusting. I didn't mean disgusting as in the whole country. I just mean temperature wise.
Right. It's
disgusting.
so bad that
Just want to
you-
clarify that.
130 degrees, you sweat out a Camelback,
Yes.
you drink a Camelback at the same
Yes.
time, and you're just constantly putting water in
Yeah.
and actually having to put salt in your stuff to keep yourself from dying.
Exactly. And
That's how nasty.
I tell people that too. Like when they're, I'm so dehydrated, just put a little salt in your water.
Yeah.
Drink the water at room temperature,
Right.
towards your body temperature, and they're like, "What? You're crazy." And I'm like, "No, trust
Yeah.
me. Trust me. It'll help. It'll get you hydrated quicker. Drink it at your body's close to your body's temperature, and put just a little bit of salt in there.
Oh yeah,
You'll-
absolutely.
You'll be fine." Yeah.
It's funny is that Afghans, I learned that they drink hot tea like all the stinking time, right? So I asked them, I'm like, hey, how come you guys drink so much tea? It's 150 degrees out right now, and you're out here drinking tea. And they're like, well, it helps regulate your body temperature. I never realized that.
Yeah.
So I drank hot tea, and as you can see, I'm still drinking hot tea or hot coffee whenever I get the opportunity, even no matter what the temperature is, because you know what? It actually works, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
craziness. Yeah,
the,
too.
the little stuff you learn that people look at you crazy, and you're like, "No, it's proven science. It's military science, but it's proven."
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so we get over to Iraq, and at the NTC and JRTC,
Right.
the Army hadn't really caught up to the whole counterinsurgency coin type environment. So we'd been training basically conventional forces, and we get over there and they're like, well, there's no tanks. What are you guys going to do? So we ended up doing a lot of like convoy security. We did a lot of convoy
Oh,
security.
I bet.
We did a lot of that surveillance because we have the ATGMs on the top that, they have the ITAS missile
Oh, so you're using
system.
ITAS then. Okay, that's a newer tow missile. That's actually nicer. They actually
yeah.
have Gen 3 sights
Oh,
on
yeah.
that thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can
Anti-tank
see-
guy, by the way.
There
Partially.
were-
partially.
There were some questionable things that we saw through the sights on that thing.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, definitely.
So, actually, I'll tell this story. This one's actually somewhat appropriate.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
one time,
Story
so
time.
You like
they would say that every 2,000 miles you had to fire the tow missiles because they're up there on top of the vehicle, riding around in the racks, jumping
Rattling around.
and all that. So, 2,000 miles that you drive, you need to go shoot your tow missiles.
Yep.
So, this is actually my second deployment, and there was kind of an old, tank graveyard out south of Mosul.
Right.
So we would go out there and shoot at those old tanks and, get rid of our tows. So we're sitting there and my gunner, he's like, hey, to the VC, he's like, hey, look at this. And there's a dude that's probably 300 or 400 meters away from this tank hulk.
Mhm.
So we're like, nah, he's far enough away.
Right.
We're already out there shooting tow missiles, but nobody had really fired close to him. So we go ahead and fire at that tank, and you can just see the dude hauling away from this
Oh, yeah. I
tank.
bet.
I mean, you could see the heat from the dust that he was kicking up behind him as this
Oh,
guy
wow.
was running away. He was like, oh my God. It was hilarious.
That's pretty funny. That's awesome.
So, my first deployment, we were in probably 3 or 4 different places over the course of a year.
Mhm.
We first rolled in. We drove up from Kuwait into Iraq. We went up to Samara, and we were at a little. It was just a small fob.
Right.
They still had the Bedouin tents and all that. The Air Force had nice, brand new air conditioned tents. of course.
4-star.
Yeah.
We were like, look at these.
Right.
Look at these guys. So
I said the
we're-
same thing about you guys though. When I went to Afghanistan, I went
Oh,
over
yeah.
to I went to Payne a couple times, and I was at I was out there in a little tiny cop,
Mhm.
and yeah, I went down there and I'm like, oh, look at these guys, got the
Yeah.
air conditioned
And-
box, the little
Man,
box
I think
things.
I never got to go to Afghanistan, but from what I heard, like Iraq was even just a million times better than that.
Oh yeah, that's right here.
I'm sure from the first, because we were there in November of 2003, so it's still pretty new, and sleeping in the tents. There was one night that we were in the tent, and it just poured down rain, and over my squad leader's head, the tent had it was like literally this far from his face.
Oh, I bet.
Like, dude.
Right.
When we took over Ramadi from the army,
Mhm.
I went from being in TQ, Camp Al-Taqaddum, where, I mean, they have subway there.
Mhm.
Like, that's how nice it is.
Right.
To go into FOBs where, I mean, you're digging in to sleep. Then I get to Ramadi, and we took over for an army unit, and we had air conditioning. And we would just walk in like, oh, this is great. Like, this is the life here. And they had, I guess when they took over from the Marines, it was just kind of like, just dumpy. And then they had internet installed. They had air conditioning. I mean, they had, the PX had they used to have a little guy who would come in and like cook like American food, like fast food type stuff. You could go in there and get like hamburgers, hot dogs,
Right.
like trying to do fatty American food, because everybody missed it.
Right.
And then when we came in and took over, like we had all those amenities just there, and it was like, this is heaven.
Just walk in, it's like, oh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everybody
'cause-
pulling out their Star credit cards and just ready to go.
Yeah. Well, you go from digging in and sleeping on the ground and not showering for
Oh yeah.
20 days, you just baby wipe baths, to having like actual showers with like curtains, like it was.
Or
Right.
doing the flip side of that, we did that in 2007 when we went from Baghdad to Bakua. That was kind of our brigade's last big push in my second deployment, we went out there and we'd pretty much surrounded Bakula, and they had flown C-130s over, put flyers out, said, "Hey, we're here.
Yeah.
Either you're here to fight or
Surrender.
you're going to get out." So
Yeah.
my company was responsible for the exit point, entry and exit point for the city.
Gotcha.
So we were, everybody that was coming through, we were
Vehicle
we're in-
checkpoints and checking everybody and all that fun stuff.
we're basically just in a warehouse, and this is second deployment. This is June of 07. Everything, most of the big bases are built up and all that stuff, and it's like, you guys are going to go out there for 2 weeks.
Oh wow!
And oh man, I was like, no.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We
Especially
got-
you got to leave up where you're at. Yeah, that's just not fun at all.
So after that 2 weeks, we finally got to go back. We were on FOB. What's it called? I can't even remember the name of it now. But we went back to the FOB there in Bakuba, and I got in the shower. And I was like, oh, this is
Right.
so nice.
It's been 10 years, and every time I get in the shower, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is
Right.
amazing. Like
It is
every
definitely something
Yeah.
you like. It's one of those freedoms that you don't
Yeah.
take for granted. Especially for me, I think when I told my stuff, I was doing Battle Fallujah too. Man, I had like 2 showers,
Yeah.
and I was there for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
It was the stuff was like my frogs were stuck to me. That's how disgusting
man.
I was. So when you talk about this is nasty, that's probably one of the things he was talking about too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
gross.
gross. It just
Well,
ugh.
one of the first things I did when I came back to the state, we weren't necessarily in the States. I think when we came back from Kuwait, we went to Germany, and you weren't allowed to leave the airport because we had a layover or whatever. So you'd go outside and stuff like that, and there was grass.
Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam. Yeah, it was Amsterdam. That's right. Everybody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this or that." I went to the outside like smoking area. I took my shoes off and there was grass, or I took my boots off and I put my feet in grass, and I was like, "Oh, this is living right now."
Right.
Like this is the happiest I've been in like a year. This is great, and I just
Yeah.
have my feet in grass.
It's those little things, man. The little things that like
Yeah.
you
You take for
really
granted.
you take for
Yeah.
granted that you
Yeah.
miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first on the first deployment, when I finally got to go on leave, you could still drink on the flight out of Kuwait.
Oh yeah.
So I get to Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, so none of the bars and stuff were open. But I'd had some Johnny Walker and a couple of beers, and I got off the plane. I'm like, man, I need some water.
Oh, I bet. I bet. That was rough.
So it was a good time.
Yeah.
All right.
But-
Did you do anything else on deployment? Anything cool?
So
That you can talk about.
so we went
that we
from
can talk about absolutely.
Yeah.
it was the FOB that we were at originally was FOB Pacesetter in Samara, and right about that happened a lot later. But we went from FOB Pacesetter, and our brigade took over the AO of the 101st Airborne Division in Mosul.
Okay.
So Mosul was already nice and built up. So we'd spent probably a month in Samara, living the tent, somewhat rough life.
The high life.
And,
At least for that time.
So
Yeah.
we go up to Mosul, and they already had shoes set up. They had a chow hall set up, and in Mosul it was FOB Merez at the time, and then right across the road pretty much was FOB Diamondback.
Okay.
And I think pretty much anybody that's been to Mosul has been to FOB Merez, FOB Diamondback, because that's where the airport is there. We went up there and it was nice, and I actually ran into quite a few guys that I went to basic with.
Oh, nice.
When we got up to Mosul, I'm like, oh man, I haven't seen you in forever.
Right.
Um,
That's how it normally happens, though.
Yeah.
You see people, like, oh my god,
yeah.
I thought you
Army-
thought you died off.
Yeah,
You're like, oh.
the military in general is such a small world for the most part.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like,
I can
"Oh, I know
imagine.
you're from somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine on your guys' side. Ours is so small. I mean, I can still see it on your guys'
Oh,
end,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
man, I mean,
Oh yeah.
When I had to go to the hospital when I went to boot camp, and I was sitting in the chair, and another recruit taps me on the shoulder, like, we're not supposed to talk or anything. You just sit there, look straight, because you're still in boot camp. And this kid kind of like nudges me, and I look over, and it was a kid I went to high school with.
Oh,
And we're
nice.
sitting-
So
we're sitting there next to
that,
each other.
That same thing happened to me. My second deployment, we flew in, we flew into Talifar, which you might know where Talifar is. It's
I know the name. I've
northwest.
seen it. I haven't never been out that way, but I know
it's
exactly what you're talking
northwest
about.
Iraq. So we flew into this place called Talifar, which really is a rather small base. And we were there for probably a week or so. And the unit that we were relieving, they were still there. And one night I was sitting there eating chow, and just sitting there looking around, and I see this kid. And I'm like, I know that guy.
Right.
And it wasn't a kid. We didn't really hang out or anything in high school, but I knew who he was.
Yeah.
And I walked over to him. I'm like, "What are you doing here?"
Oh, so it just hit you like that?
Yeah, because he was kind of he was a soccer player and stuff like that. Not really somebody that you would picture as. And he was actually infantry also.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I never pictured you as an infantryman, but I'm sure
Yeah.
that probably goes both ways.
Yeah.
Right. So, throw one out there, too. So, my last unit, I was with McTOG, Marine Corps Tactics Operations Group, out of 29 Palms.
Shout out to McTog.
Shout out McTOG. Great place. Awesome unit.
I mean, I don't know about great place, but shout out to them.
Well,
29
I'm talking about
29 Palms.
I'm talking McTOG, not 29
not 29
Palms.
Palms? Okay.
Oh, yeah. 29 Palms is an armpit,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry about that. Shout out to McTog, not to 29 Palms.
That's where we do desert training, so
Yeah.
there's nothing nice about it. But believe it or not, my last unit there, I had a guy, same class, graduating class, who actually showed up. His name was Anthony Abrero, so I'm not sure if I'm friends with you on Facebook. I may
Shout out
tag you on that.
Anthony.
So, fellow mass sergeant, so we're both mass sergeants over there, and this last unit, we're just, we're like, oh crap, we were both in high school together, both came, so yeah, it's such a small world. And then he came to my retirement and kind of gave me a shout out, and everybody's like, what? Someone went to high school? No one else knew there from my unit that we went to high school together.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. One of my best friends in high school, him and I both joined the Marine Corps, and we were like literally we were in the same place and just passed by each other our entire Marine Corps careers. Like we were at Camp Pendleton, we deployed, we were doing all this same stuff together at the same time, just on different paths. Just like he's at one fob and I'm like at the next fob over.
Oh, wow.
Or like I'm on main side, he's in the 22 area. He's
Yep.
in like Pulgus,
Yep.
and I'm on main side.
Nice.
That's how close we were our entire Marine Corps careers, and we never crossed paths, but we would tell stories. And I was like, I was there. I was like, wait a minute, I was there too. Like the same
That's
dates
funny.
and everything. Yeah, it was. But we never crossed paths until after we both got out the Marine Corps, and then it was one of those like soul searching things. You get out and you're like, oh, I haven't talked to you in like 4 years. What have you been up to? Or like 6, 8, however many years. What have you been up to? Oh, I joined the Marine Corps. Oh no, shit, me too. Like,
Right.
where were you stationed? Oh no, me too. And then
Right.
it's just like
It just goes on from there. You should have had him in here, and then you guys could have been like, well, wait a minute.
He unfortunately he passed away in November,
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
October, something like that. So
Oh.
last year. Yeah.
Rest in
Great
peace,
guy.
brother. Rest in peace.
One of the best people I've ever known, and he had some medical complications, passed away. But yeah, great
That
guy.
sucks.
Yeah,
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 that
it sucks. Same age and everything, and when I found out, I was like,
That's pretty rough. It's pretty devastating. Because I have friends dying now, and you're like, dude,
well,
Yeah.
I know I'm actually older than you. I know I'm older than you, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy to start hearing when you start hearing your peers go.
yeah. Well, I'm in my early 30s, Well,
Yeah.
I'll be in my mid 30s soon. Shout out to mid 30s.
Right.
But
Shout
it
out
was
to
one of those.
youngins.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like.
Remember when I was 30?
It was one of those when you hear it, you're like, what happened?
Right.
And then the first thing I think of is he's a vet, so I'm like, oh great, another 22,
Right.
But then it was like, no, it was something medical, and I'm like, that's even worse. Well, not
Right.
worse, but like when you're in your
Better, but
early
worse.
30s, like, yeah,
Yeah, it just sucks, Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
That's it. Makes it even worse. I mean, at least
Crazy. Yeah.
you're talking 22. At least there is a preventable side to it, but you can't do anything about cancer or something.
yeah, exactly. You can't do anything medically, but like speaking of the 22, you ever need to reach out, shoot us an email, comments, whatever.
Text, call,
Yeah.
whatever you got to do. Send me
Yeah.
a carrier pigeon.
A lot
I'll
of the people
talk to
who
you.
watch this video have my phone number, so if you ever need, just hit me up.
Right? Or look up
Straight
the
up. Yeah.
VFW Idaho State website,
Yeah.
and you'll find my name
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Call me up.
There's plenty of us out there, but we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we're
That's-
way
that's
off
for
topic. Let's
another
back to
video.
him,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
So you're talking about your buddy you saw him out there,
Yeah.
and then
Well, so they had been there for a year already, and some of their unit had already started going home. This was right at the end of '06, right when they started doing the surges. So they had people that were already back in Alaska, where his unit's from.
Right.
They're like, "Oh no, you're going back to Iraq." So a lot of those.
I love the
guys are
sound of that
looking at-
noise.
Like, oh
Ugh.
man, that's got to be horrible. But in a way, it was good for us and my unit because it's like, well, we'll probably be here 15 months already. You know, we
Right.
just already knew. So,
But that's your normal deployments, though, right? About 15 months.
12,
So during that time.
normally 12.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty
So-
pretty long.
Yeah,
well,
like our first deployment was 12 months.
That still
Like
sucks.
we ended up going from Mosul. We went to this smaller air base south of Mosul called Kayara, or
Right.
Q West is what they called it back then.
Right.
And that place had a pool.
Oh yeah, that was one of the palaces, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No,
No.
Kayara was one of their air bases.
Oh, okay.
So-
And they would have had that their air base. Yeah, it makes sense.
So we were the only infantry company on this whole base. You know, everybody else is just
support
support, logistics, all that stuff. So
out there swimming in the
So
pool
we
while you're
had-
out there like looking at them.
we had our mission
Yeah.
was to train the Iraqi army
Right.
and provide security for the base. So we had.
So you're an
three-
advisor then too, huh? You were an advisor, acting
Yep.
advisor. Okay.
Yep. So we had 3 platoons in our company, 3 12-man platoons.
Right.
And we were also augmented with some National Guard soldiers. And the way that things would go for us is we'd get up in the morning and train the Iraqi soldiers because, you know, it gets stupid hot there.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
of course, yeah.
We would get up and do that, and then either we would have kind of like a day off, we would have QRF and kind of refit type stuff.
That's a
working on
quick reaction
vehicles.
force. Those are the guys that get called up in case something happens. That's what QRF is.
Yep. And, you know, either working on the vehicles or whatever, or we'd be a mission platoon. And if we were the mission platoon at night, we would go out and overwatch Route Tampa,
Right.
you know, for.
I know where that's at, unfortunately,
'cause
but
Yeah.
look at
Route,
map.
Route Tampa, you know, is the main road that goes from, you know,
pretty much
I don't
everywhere,
even-
right?
I don't even
think it's
know
north.
what-
It's like kind of north to south to.
yeah, I don't even know
It's
what
like
the-
Route
the.
66 type
Yeah,
thing.
pretty much.
It goes, it stretches everywhere.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I was in Ramadi, and
Yep.
Tampa was out there.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it goes from
it-
from
oh, yeah,
Kuwait.
everywhere. Yeah.
I can't remember if it ends in Mosul or if it keeps going north.
Yeah.
There was a few times we went to some cities up north, and you know, Kurdish region. We went to Duhok,
Right.
which that was a really nice place. The first time we went up there, it's pretty much right on the border with Turkey. And the first time we went up there, we went in and had 2 platoons up there, and we all went into a restaurant, sat down, and everybody ate. Both platoons ate. You know, like 30
Wow.
people ate.
What kind of food?
You know, just
Like a
local
okay, local food?
You know, everybody ate, and it was like they wanted like $60. Like, really?
I think the only place that
So-
beats that is Thailand. If you've never eaten in Thailand,
Oh yeah.
I had a steak. I had a filet mignon, beer, and had like vegetables and potatoes. Right, $5.
Well,
$5. Yeah. $5.
Oh yeah.
$5.
Oh yeah.
So
You
yeah,
know,
I think
so-
the only thing that beats that. That's still awesome though.
Yeah.
So where was I in my story? Let's see.
You said you just had a restaurant.
We're
Yeah, your unit
Q
ate for
West.
$60.
Yeah.
Yep. So we stayed there. We stayed there that night, and driving back the next day, it actually snowed on the way back to Mosul.
Okay, I've never seen
And
that. That's
liter-
cool.
Literally,
Yeah, I've been in
those were
Iraq
the
and stuff.
biggest damn flakes I'd ever seen in my life. They were huge.
Like golf ball kind of.
Oh yeah,
like flakes?
like
Oh wow.
huge snowflakes. I'm like,
The end of 2007.
what is this? It was
That's when I went to Iraq.
that was
The end of 2007.
2000.
It snowed.
Did it?
We talked about that.
Yeah, you
'Cause
did.
They were
Early
like,
in
"Bring your cold winter
2004.
gear."
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was
we
in
did talk about that.
2004.
Oh,
Early in
okay.
2004.
Because when
It
I
was,
went in
you know, it's
07,
funny. I was there in 2004 too.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't snow, but it was cold. It dropped to cold, which is pretty wild,
right by each
Yeah.
other, you know.
right? Yeah.
Well, he was
We
in,
do that
because you.
Yeah.
When did you go over
for what? For Iraq?
your first time? Yeah.
That was it. I went in 04. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was there right before.
1908.
Whoa, calm down, calm down. I wasn't fighting the Russians and the Afghans. No, in Iraq I was there in 04, right before they did the second battle, Fallujah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were hanging out on. We
Like
pushed all
August.
the way up. Yeah, it was like
September-ish.
I want to say we pushed. Well, we were training in Kuwait during, I believe, in August. Yeah, it was like, well, it was like end of September, I think, is when we started heading out there, and we were out, or somewhere between September October, we started going out that way.
Yeah, that was the time that we were out in Key West training with the Iraqi Army and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So some of the coolest things that we did on the first deployment, we saw the ruins of Nimrud and Al Hatra, which don't
Right.
exist anymore
Right.
thanks to ISIS.
Babylon's out there too. If you ever see that, it's not
Yep.
much left of it,
So-
but it's out there.
Yeah, pieces.
The ruins of Al Hatra were where they filmed like one of the opening scenes for The Exorcist.
Oh, okay.
I think it was The Exorcist.
Was The
I
Exorcist?
remember
Okay.
they were talking
Now
about
we got
that
to find.
back
Now we'll have
then.
to look it up. You know.
I'm
So-
gonna watch that when I get home.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good movie.
So
Yeah.
we did that, and those were really cool things. Nimrud, I have a picture on my Facebook of a sign that was put up at Nimrud, and it was built between like 800 and some odd BC,
Right.
and
This stuff's still
it was-
standing.
yeah.
You know
Well,
that's crazy though. The Iraqi houses, man, they're all built out of like straight up concrete. You know, so
Stone.
you're literally like,
Yeah.
good luck trying to get rid of that.
built out basically built out of mud for
Right.
most of the uncivilized part of Iraq.
Right. And the stuff's still there, so it actually did something right.
Oh yeah, a lot of the statues and stuff that they had out there, like they would take off the heads and stuff like that because
Right.
people would loot
Yeah.
them and steal them
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But there was a few that I got that were
So-
full statues, and
Yeah, it's
it was
awesome.
pretty cool.
Pretty wild.
So
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
it's like even like from reading the Bible and stuff, like Mosul is in Nineveh province, which in the
Right.
Bible you read about Nineveh.
That's a
and
lot of
Tower
Old
of
Testament.
Babel and
Yep.
all that stuff. It's like, man, all these places are stuff that's in the Bible.
Yeah,
Places that
this all happened.
Yeah.
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 and it's just kind of cool to be able to see those sites and stuff like that.
That is pretty. That's a good point. No one's ever brought that up
So-
with that
No.
kind of stuff. So that is pretty interesting.
Yeah. No one I've ever talked to has actually brought up that point. And I mean, people. I've talked to people who travel the world.
Right.
I've been around the world too. Not as much as some people. Some people span the globe, but I've never heard anybody actually bring up that point. It's crazy.
I always use Babylon
I
because
think
I went through Babylon. I passed Babylon when I was.
Yeah.
That's the only time I ever bring it up. But I never
Like
went to Nineveh and-
somewhere I'd read that, like even the Garden of Eden is supposedly located in that area.
It would be.
Like I think it's
Technically.
where the Tigris and the Euphrates
Right.
come together. Is where the Garden of Eden
And
is.
believe it or not, all that stuff was
And-
all that area was all one.
Yeah.
Between Jerusalem and Israel to all that, it was all
Oh, yeah.
one point.
Yeah,
that
that
was all
whole-
one area.
That whole area is just, rich with history and
Right.
Yeah.
things like that. And
Yeah.
I just always thought that was
I just thought it was
Pretty
sad
cool.
when a lot of it was destroyed
Oh,
by
yeah.
them, man. When they started destroying
yeah.
all their history and stuff like
yeah,
that.
it's-
And
especially like I
Freaking
saw
Al-Qaeda, man.
when ISIS destroyed
ISIS,
Nimrud
yeah.
and Hatra and all that. I was like, really.
yeah, it's a
You
sad
know.
thing, man. It sucks because I mean, really, the preservation of history is obviously pretty important. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
even in current times,
Yep.
Good history or bad history, you still have to keep history around. So you can either learn
Yep.
from it. Well, you learn from it. Period. Either
Right.
you want to continue like this or you don't.
Well,
Right.
or you want it the easy way or the hard way, because if you want to do it all over again, it all repeats itself at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah,
before,
yeah, no, I mean we're getting ready to
We
go
get
into
off on
like
another
learning.
tangent, yeah.
We're in
Yes.
a learning thing here,
We'll bring up the whiteboard later.
Yeah.
right? Bring out the maps.
So
Yeah.
that was towards the end of my first deployment. It was our first deployment was really pretty chill. Like we didn't really
Wish
we
we all
didn't
had deployments like that, right?
really we didn't get in any like close firefights or anything. One of the coolest things happened. Actually, it was the first time we went on patrol in Mosul. So this is the first time strikers have really been in Iraq, and they're calling us ghost soldiers and all that because the strikers are really quiet and you can't
Right.
hear them coming. So we're driving around and we come to this traffic circle. So I'm driving the rear vehicle in our convoy.
Right.
His truck decides to cut in front of me and clips the front of my striker, and we have the slat armor, which if you don't know what slat armor is, it's basically a cage that goes around the outside of a vehicle to stop RPGs. So he clips the front of my striker and goes up under the
The
front
cage?
slope,
Yeah.
under the front slope of the striker. But I
Right.
can't see that because I'm
Right.
up high, and my gunner's yelling at me to stop, but I think he's saying something else, so I floor it, coming around this traffic circle. Finally, I hear it registers in my head to stop, so I stop, and he's like, back up. So I back up, and the front of my striker just gives birth to this truck. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do?
Right.
And this lady gets out, and she's like, looks like she's about to have a heart attack, and the guy gets out, and he's all yelling and all this stuff, so...
Congratulations.
MC.
It's a
Yeah.
boy. Yeah.
So we're in this traffic circle, and a crowd kind of starts building up, and they push the truck off to the side, and the crowd starts building up even more. We're 3 vehicles and 12 dudes.
Right.
So we're like, we need to get out of here. So we, hey, if you want to get paid for your truck, come to, Fob Merez, and we'll get you paid for it.
You guys are so
And
much
we took
nicer than
off.
us. We just told them to get the heck out of there.
Oh man,
It's your fault.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
your fault. You shouldn't have been freaking
Yeah.
You
cutting me
got in
from
the
me.
way. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Now go ahead.
There's this big
Yeah.
sign on the
Keep
back
going.
of my vehicle says "Stay,
Yeah.
stay
Yeah,
back behind
exactly.
us." So
Exactly.
your fault. Get away.
Yeah, it's in
But-
English and Arabic, so
Yeah.
you can read either one. Of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we took off and headed back to the base, and that traffic circle actually ended up being the worst traffic circle in Mosul.
Oh, I
There was
bet.
all kinds of battles there, and
Well, traffic
You know,
circles just in
things like
general
that.
in that country were
Oh,
just
yeah.
not good.
yeah.
Heck, you
So-
didn't, I don't even think there was a single stop sign other than the traffic circle was it, and there was no telling you to stop
Oh yeah,
or slow down.
yeah. So that was kind
It's
of
all stop sign.
Nope.
Nope.
that was kind of one of the 2 or 3 most
Like
fun moments, I guess.
Exciting.
It's
Say
fun. That's a
from our
hilarious
first
moment.
deployment.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool to
So-
watch. I would love to see a truck come out of the bottom of a
Yeah,
striker.
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, if it turned out like how it turned out, yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely don't want to be
Yeah.
rubbing, fluids off the front of your vehicle because that's not fun.
Yeah.
Ruins
Get
the
a-
paint job.
Get a PFC to do that.
That's true. That's true. But it just ruins your paint job.
Pulls off the front. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, go get a brush. Go get a brush.
Yeah.
Hey, remember
Yeah.
you were late for Firewatch?
Where's your scrub? Where's your scrub brush?
Right? Right. Oh, you done messed up, didn't you?
Yeah.
So fell
So
asleep on Firewatch?
Right?
yeah.
Scrub the front.
Scrub the
yeah.
front. Well, it sucks because I was a scout for LAVs, and the scouts were the O3s,
Yeah.
and we were the ones cleaning. We would scrub the bottom of LAVs. So it was one of those crappy jobs. Thank goodness I was a CO's driver,
Oh.
so I had the Humvee I cleaned by myself, but I didn't have to get because we used to just put the whole Gumbies back on back in the day,
Ugh.
the big rubber suits,
Yeah.
and sit underneath that thing and they'd be sprayed it. It's all rated down on you while you're scrubbing it.
Yeah.
They can have that, dude.
Oh no.
I would
Oh,
they
no.
have that.
Oh no.
So, oh yeah, it was like that back in the day, but I don't know. Maybe things have changed. Oh, we obviously don't have those anymore. Gore-Tex now, but you
Yeah,
know,
they probably
Yeah.
haven't changed
Gore-
that much.
Gore-Tex terrible.
No.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Gore-Tex. The Gumby suits were terrible.
I was like,
Because-
Gore-Tex is
yeah.
great.
Gore-Tex is amazing as long as it stayed dry. Once
I
it
had
leaked,
I had a pair of Gore-Tex shoes one time. Like
Yeah.
they were New Balance with Gore-Tex on them.
Right.
I could literally put my foot in water
right?
and my foot wouldn't get wet.
Oh yeah,
Tennis shoes.
yep.
I still have
I'm
some
like,
like
man.
Gore-Tex from the Marine Corps. It doesn't fit anymore, but
Yeah.
I still have it. Yeah.
The last
I need
ones
to get
I-
some- I need to get some new.
I had some Gen 1 Gore-Tex I took with me on my sailing trip
Yeah.
a few years ago. They didn't make it back from
Mm-hmm.
that trip, but I mean, or at least the bottoms didn't. The tops are still good.
Yeah. If Gore-Tex wants me to, if they want to send me some, feel free to.
Oh yeah,
I'm-
oh yeah,
I'm-
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure all of us would take some Gore-Tex.
Oh yeah, yeah. Send us 3 sets of Gore-Tex. Just DM us and we'll give you our sizes.
Right, right.
Shout out to
there you go.
Gore-Tex.
Right, yeah. We better tag it with this post. So, all right, man. Continue on. What else you
Yeah.
got?
So
This is good. This is good stuff.
I think that the only other good story, I guess,
Well,
out of our
good
first
story,
deployment.
bad story. It doesn't.
You know.
Yeah.
So one time our company was tasked with going and paying the Iraqi army.
Okay.
So
Like literally paying them.
literally giving them
Oh, their paychecks.
Yeah, giving them their
Oh
paychecks.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've been there,
So-
done that.
Yeah.
So
I was
the,
thinking
the
like
place
casino
where
type thing.
the place where we met them is up on top of a hill. So on this highway in Mosul, there's like a stadium from where they had the Olympics. There's like stadium seating on both sides of the
Yeah.
of the highway.
Right,
so
right.
we went up back behind the stadium seating where they have their little base.
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled in this tiny compound. I mean, we barely could get all of our vehicles in there, and we get our dismount team out, and they walk into the building, and there's only enough room for like 2 people in there, so there's 3 guys standing just outside the door under a sheet metal overhang. So they tell my lieutenant, they're like, every time Americans come in here, we get mortared. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, keep an eye out. There's a huge open field across the highway from where we're sitting at. So, you know, we're sitting out there scanning all this stuff.
Looking for glint.
Yep. About 10 minutes in, you know, rounds start coming in. 2 of them land just outside of the wall of this compound. One of them lands on top of that sheet metal overhang.
Oh,
Flat.
oh, I bet.
Just
Done. Did it actually explode
didn't
too,
go
or
off.
just
Didn't go
no?
off.
It didn't go off.
Oh,
Just hit it
wow.
and flattened it.
rolled off the sheet metal, landed on the ground, like right next to our 3 guys that were standing outside. Didn't go off.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah. It's,
You know, it's like,
Was the pin still in it?
I don't know. I
'Cause
I didn't see it. I was still in the vehicle.
That does happen
But
occasionally,
it's just
depending on
like-
the type of round.
It's just like,
I have a
man.
story about that. I'll tell mine.
Yeah, that, you know, and it was just crazy. We saw a truck driving out from across the highway, so you know we all jumped back in the truck and took off after him. But
Right.
didn't find them. Excuse me. We didn't find them, so we just went on about our business.
Right. It does, majority of the cars over there look the same anyway. It's like, hey, you're going to look for the one with the orange panels on it, which happens
Yeah.
to be taxi cabs.
Yeah.
And they're like all over the place at rack. So you're like,
The orange
yeah.
panel ones, the Chevy, what are
The
they?
little pickup trucks they had out there.
Mhm.
I forgot you know, like the old Nissans or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, they were all over the place too. I mean, obviously an off-brand. It wasn't actual Nissan.
Oh
but
yeah.
whatever they had out on that side. But yeah, there'd just be like there's 2 or 3 different types of vehicles. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Besides your jingle truck or
Oh,
your,
yeah.
your jingle trucks and your. So yeah, it was kind of hard to find. I mean, they say, hey, go look for this vehicle. They give you a bolo.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout, and it's like,
Everywhere.
dude, there's like 50 of those vehicles right in front of me. Which one are we looking for?
Yeah.
All of them.
Right? And you're like, yeah, you're.
And you're like,
Yeah,
come on.
Can you give me a description of the driver a little better than that? What you got me?
Yeah.
He's wearing white. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. How many do you guys think they're wearing white?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
craziness, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So that,
Yeah.
that was your first
Yeah,
deployment.
that was pretty much first deployment for
Oh,
the most
man.
part. Nothing really
Hey, you know, you don't have to be.
exciting, and you know,
Yeah.
Hey,
it's
you
cool.
know- you know though-
It's cool. I'm, you know, at the end of the deployment, I'm like, I'm going home. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's
you
how
know?
it is. That's it should
And,
be how it is.
Like our whole company, we didn't have anybody injured. We didn't have anybody killed. I want to say our
That's a perfect deployment.
throughout the brigade, there was, I want to say we had 23 that were killed
Yeah.
out of a year-long deployment for a whole brigade.
That's
Right.
You know, so
That's not
it
bad.
was-
That's actually. I mean, it still sucks
know,
regardless.
yeah.
23
almost
still
best case
sucks.
scenario.
Yep.
But I mean, 23 is a lot better than what I had. to
Oh,
deal
yeah.
with. I mean, I lost
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You start getting in the triple digits. It's,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it really starts to affect you, especially when you know these people. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey, that sounds good.
It really seemed that for the most part we were right place, right time.
yeah, that's an ideal
great.
deployment.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I noticed that more units too, depending on their units or discipline levels of units. And usually, infantry units are really
Yeah.
they have a real high discipline level. Tend to, depending on where you're at, what you're doing, they tend to take less casualties because they're usually more on guard. They when they're kind of scoping you out, they're like, okay, don't get these guys. These guys are making a hard target.
They're more aware of their surroundings, and they carry themselves just a little bit different.
Right.
So when you look, you're like, you can tell.
Yeah,
there's a little bit different.
It's usually at the end of the deployment that usually because everybody gets kind of complacent.
I
that
think
you start seeing people get hit.
over time they were able to tell who was who.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like they would always tell us. You know, they definitely know the difference between like the patches on your shoulders. And
Yeah,
stuff
they
like
know.
that.
I still don't
But
know
they
the patch
They
difference.
I
also
don't
know
the patch
like
difference either.
the equipment that's on the
Oh, yeah.
vehicles. They can tell.
Oh yeah, they know
who's
that.
what
Yeah,
by
definitely, yeah.
what's on your vehicle.
Right.
You know, so
Oh, yeah.
a lot of times, like they just didn't mess with the strikers for the most part. You
Yeah,
know,
and they don't want to mess with it anyway. I mean, they think everything's a tank over there too. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh crap, that thing's armred. It's got a big gun on it. I don't.
Oh yeah,
I don't
there
mess
was
with it.
there was all kinds of rumors.
They
and
try to
stuff
blow you
about,
up, but that's about
about
it.
the strikers that, you know, like we had the nickname Ghost Soldiers because
Yeah.
you know we'd go in for raids and stuff like that, and like we didn't even know we didn't even hear you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Not only that, they haul butt too.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you're talking like 80 miles per hour.
Yeah.
70,
Yeah. So
70, 72 is normally where they were governed at. There's
yeah,
a,
yeah.
Close
there's,
enough, yeah.
there's
Still
a nice
hauling,
hill.
though.
Yeah.
There's a nice hill coming into Mosul from the south that
right.
you just let it ride.
Oh, yeah.
Get on the gas and you're going 72.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Ludicrous speed.
So-
Go.
Yeah. That's almost enough to go back in time.
Yes. Yeah.
That-
88. Oh, yeah. Just
That
get that
reminds me
88.
of-
Almost enough.
Flux capacitor.
That reminds me of the time I did a 180 in a striker.
Mm.
So we were at what's it called Balad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody that's been to
Been to
a
Balad before.
nice base
Have you? Nice.
in Iraq, Balad is the nicest of the nice. It's an Air Force run base. There's
Nice.
I think they had Burger King there.
Yeah. We didn't get to enjoy any
You know,
of that.
it was
You just got
Marine.
to see it.
We didn't. No.
we.
I was there for forklift training.
So
Oh.
when
Fantastic.
we went
Sounds
to,
like fantastic there.
when we went to Balad, it was just kind of like a, it
Like
was
a
just kind of
stop-through?
like a stop off
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
much. So, you know, we would go find like the PX or whatever, and
Of course, you got
it's
to
like
find the
we're-
PX.
you know, we're
I mean,
going
if
to-
there's any, you're
They
stopping
have a nice
anywhere.
PX,
going to
yeah,
pick
definitely.
going to pick somebody up or whatever, you know, somebody coming back off leave or whatever. We go
Right.
park over by the PX and go to Burger King, Green Bean Coffee.
Yep.
Shout out to Green Bean Coffee.
There you go. Green
Yeah.
Bay. It's nice they had them over there too.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's about the only time in my life I've ever drank chai latte.
Yeah.
okay.
You know,
Yeah. You know what though? I give Starbucks a little credit too. Shouts. Or the only reason why I give Starbucks used to send us little packets out in Afghanistan
Wow.
when you had no coffee.
Yeah.
So I give them a little bit of credit. At least they sent us little packets. I used to like heat that up and drink it. And
Yeah.
I'm talking just normal black coffee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent a bunch of this to the troop. So those to the troop. So
Air Force gets K-Cups.
yeah, I'm sure they get K cups, and they get the the Keurig along with it, so they can heat their
Yep.
stuff up. No, I mean literally, I was like canteen, hot water. Here, just dump that packet in, drink coffee. I mean that's all I had over there. But and they were the Starbucks little packs. So
Yeah.
So maybe somebody bought them and then
yeah.
and then shipped them
yeah.
to you. Not,
Probably.
no,
not
it wasn't.
Starbucks
It was donated by somebody. But
Yeah,
yes, but
probably not Starbucks.
right, but not Starbucks themselves.
Yeah,
No.
Somebody probably bought them
Right,
because they
right.
You know,
But I mean, at least it was a coffee that is
shout out
nice,
to the
strong.
person who donated.
Yes.
Yes.
Or to the people that donate, because there's a lot of people that donate
Yeah.
stuff, and that's very appreciated.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
anyway, we're driving around like basically the outer perimeter of this base, and we've got a lot of separation between the vehicle in front of me and me. So there was a PLS truck, which is basically it's larger than
You said
like
PLS.
a PLS, which
Yeah,
it's kind of like the military big long wrecker truck.
Right.
You know that is.
It's a recovery vehicle.
Yeah, it's a recovery vehicle that recovers larger, like it can recover Strikers and
Right.
probably Bradleys, maybe tanks.
They're
I don't
not
know if
stuck
I've
too
ever-
hard, stuck,
yeah,
too,
I've
stuck too
never-
bad. Because
I
you have
don't
their
know
own.
if I've ever seen a PLS pull in a tank. I don't think they
Yeah, I
can.
don't think they can, but they'll. I mean, they probably try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
So, anyway, going down the road, going about 30 or so, this guy he kind of starts to pull out like he's gonna make a left-hand turn right in front of me. Then he stops, so I'm like, okay, keep going, get back on the gas. Then he does decide to pull out, and this is kind of the rainy season, and it was wet and just a whole lot of
No.
muck, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. So I slammed on the brakes and kind of turned a little bit, and the Striker just whoop spun all the way around.
Oh, nice.
So
Because of the dude.
yeah.
So the guy got
Oh
you.
yeah, because I was trying to stop not
Did
to
he
hit
actually
the guy.
bump you, or did you just?
No, he didn't bump me.
Oh, so you just like
Because I slammed on the
you
brakes,
started the brakes and
and
it spun out.
kind of turned the wheel and it spun out.
Nice.
So by the time, but we got on the radio, like as soon as it happened, radio to our front vehicle, hey, stop that guy.
Right.
When it
Did
by
you
the
scream
time-
too? By the way, when you stopped, I'm just
No.
curious. Like ah!
No.
Like you're turning it. Because I've just been.
So, like, pretty much right after we got stopped, we were radioing to our front vehicle, being like, "Hey, stop that guy." He was already flying past them.
Oh, you probably.
So it's like-
Of course, yeah.
I would
you
take it
knew.
off too.
You
Oh,
knew,
yeah.
dude.
He knew what was up. He's like, I'm out of here, man. I don't want any part of this.
At that
But-
moment, he knew he fucked up.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
he was gone. Yeah.
He was gone.
yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, that's the first deployment.
Yeah.
So my wife and we got married between my first and second deployment. We knew each other in high school, and
Oh, nice.
I kind of went our separate ways for years and years, and you know, back in the AIM, AOL Instant Messenger days.
Wow.
You know,
Right.
we knew each other on AOL Instant Messenger. You know, I
Nice.
was, happened to be on one day and happened to see her on there, and I'm like, hey, you know, how have you been? I haven't seen you in 4 years or so.
Mhm.
You know, we just started talking, and this is like this is right before my first deployment when we started talking. You know, and then
Right.
went through that deployment. You know, kept talking all that, and decided we were going to get married. So she was living here, going to Boise State at the time, and I was up at Fort Lewis still.
Right.
So we got married, and I still was able to stay in the barracks. So she stayed here and finished her degree because, you know, we were still getting ready to go get deployed again.
Yeah.
Right.
So most of the time that I spent was training, you know. So I'm not there. It doesn't make sense to move her up there and all that. So
Right.
did that, got married, went on second deployment, and that one had quite a bit more
It's a little more kinetic.
adrenaline rush
Yeah.
type things.
Were you also in Iraq this time too, or
Mhm,
somewhere else?
Yep. So this time we moved so many times. I think I counted 6 times in the first 7 months we were there. So we originally flew into Talifar. We were there for about a week, and then we went north to a place called Rabia,
Okay.
which is literally the Syrian border crossing. I mean, it's like, this town is tiny. You know, it's basically a gas station and
That's pretty much it, huh?
the border gate. Yeah. So
Sounds like my hometown.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like CUNA, except there's a few more people.
Yeah.
so it was
It's Melba.
my company.
Melba, there you go.
There was a small SF detachment.
Shout out to Melba.
There were a couple of, I want to say they were like Navy Seabees that were there, and they had, you know, border patrol teams, guys that are, you know, teaching the Iraqi army about how to,
Right.
you know, search
Advisors.
vehicles and
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So that was everybody that was at the base. So, you know, we're doing everything on this base. You know, we're doing security, building up the base, helping with, you know, the border crossing and all that. We still have to do patrols, and it's just
Gave you a lot to do.
this place.
Just gave
This
you.
place sucks.
Oh man, this is like.
So at the time, General Ham was the 1-star, and he came out to the base to kind of check it out and stuff like that. And he decided that he wanted a barrier of HESCOs between where the Americans were and where the Iraqi soldiers were.
It's kind of weird.
So
Insider or what? I mean, just
Well,
that's something he preferred.
yeah, it was just kind of something he
Like
preferred.
Security
you know.
measures. And
Yeah.
stuff like that. Okay.
So we're out there. We're a company. We have 53 guys, and on top of everything we're already doing, now we have to fill HESCO
Right.
barriers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's never fun.
we were there for about a month. You know, one of our other duties was to take the shit truck out every day so that it could empty itself.
Itself, yeah.
So they could come and, you know.
Did you at
suck
least
out
have
all
any like equipment to fill the HESCO? Or did you guys do it by hand?
the e-tools.
Oh god, man, those HESCOs are huge. By the way, there's no
E-tools.
joke. It's not like filling a sandbag.
Yeah.
You're filling a huge, probably
I
up
think
at
they're
probably- they're like-
they're like 7 feet tall.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, horrible.
And they're probably 3 or 4 feet wide
Right.
on each side.
Right, and they're
And you
designed
have
to be
stack them next to each other.
Yep.
Like we
in,
had
in order to be effective, right?
in Ramadi we had to do the same thing, but we ended up getting TCNs, which are third country nationals.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we used to call them the Blue Man Group because when they would come on base, they had to wear blue jumpsuits.
Yep. So you
So-
knew who they were.
Yeah, so we were doing it by hand, and then we had the Blue Man Group who started doing it, and then so you would, instead of having a dozen Marines out there, you only have to have 2 to watch them
Right.
while they do it. But,
Right.
So we started doing it, but then we hired out, you know, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
That's
were
crazy.
we were up there for probably about a month or so, and then we went back to Q West, which, you know, we'd been there first deployment and stuff like that, and kind of didn't really ever get a mission there. We were only there for a couple of weeks, and then we went up to Mosul. Kind of same thing, you know. It's anti-tank company. We'd actually, between the first and second deployment, we went from 3 ATGM strikers to each platoon would have 2 ATGMs and 1 infantry carrier striker,
Right.
so that they could use us more as a QRF, which really worked out pretty well. We got attached to another infantry battalion, and we went on a mission with them, and we were basically cordon for that unit. And that was the first time I ever heard the whistle of a bullet.
Ah,
Yeah.
That was
it didn't have
so,
your name on it though. That's a good sign.
Yes. So
So
the ATGMs are basically manned by 4 guys. So you've got your driver, you've got a TC, you've got a gunner, and I was the loader in the back. And on the back of the ATGM, it has a hatch that goes up to about 45 degrees, and you're standing out of that hatch, pulling security. And that was where it ended up being,
Yeah, just have
Just-
that shot come.
Yeah.
Shot heard around the world.
just heard the pop, and then heard the whistle. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I
that's a little too close.
ducked down real quick. I'm like, man, I almost got hit.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
So-
wakes you up real quick too.
yeah, when you hear like in Hollywood when they talk about the difference between a hiss and a whistle, you can tell the difference when they start whistling by your head,
Yeah.
or when they start hissing 10 feet away from you. Like there's a huge difference.
Right.
And you don't understand until you actually hear it go by you. It's
Yeah, I think it's the reason why we pull pits in the Marine Corps. Is that because it shoots right over your head? You actually hear them going over. You know that they're close.
I thought it was because of slave labor, but that makes more sense.
Right. We'll get you used to that sound. You know that when a round is coming over your
I
head.
never put two.
You never put that together?
I don't think that's what they do.
Well, no. I mean, well, think about it. Because a lot of the ranges have gone automated, but I think the reason why the Marine Corps did that, twofold. Obviously, you get you are slave labor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you do get to understand
Yeah.
the dynamics of the round getting shot at you.
I guess that makes sense.
Especially when it you hear it hit, the burn,
Yeah.
you hit it, you can hear that pop, and then all the dirt goes over your head. You know that came close.
Yeah.
So not close enough to hit you, but close enough. You get
Yeah.
that.
I mean, now that you mention it, that does actually make sense.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
that's originally why they had all the Marines do that. I'm sure the Army did it at one point too. Where you guys had
Yeah, we did that in basic. You
Oh,
have
we did
this.
it
You
through
have
the
the
entire
super
Oh
Marine Corps
God,
career.
we
Yeah.
still doing
super
it, man.
long.
Yeah.
Hell, before I
Super
retired,
long
I'm still
course that
pulling
you have
pits.
to low crawl and all this stuff, and they're
Gunny
just shooting
national.
rounds over your head. Yeah,
So-
that was pretty fun when you know the bullets aren't going to hit you, but
Right, right.
it's a little bit different when
But
you're not
though,
sure.
but it's funny because translating that back, I remember when I was in Iraq, I was getting lit up by somebody, and it just hits you like you remember like, oh crap, I know that sound, and I know that sound going by me, and I know,
It's
and then you start hearing the popping, and that's when you know it's getting really close.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
So, actually, I think I'll backtrack a little bit.
no worries.
One of the first days that we were in country on our second deployment. So one of our units one of our platoons had already gone up to Rabia. Well, they were out doing a patrol or something, and they had stopped for a little bit, and they had one of the interpreters sitting up on the back end of the striker. So I guess the Iraqi army up there got into a little bit of a firefight with some guys.
Right.
Took one right in the head.
Oh.
Dead.
Yep. That's all it takes.
It was like, oh man, this
all she
deployment
wrote.
is not going to be the same as the first.
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah, started out at Rabia. We went to Key West for a couple of weeks. Went to Mosul for about a month. Then we went to Baghdad. And that was kind of like we were in Mosul for the first deployment. We did raids and stuff there, but kind of the second deployment, the way that it started and all that, it's like, man, we're going to Baghdad. This is when the
Right.
surge is starting up and everything's heating up. Baghdad is huge. It's like, oh man,
It's on fire out
here
there.
we go.
Yep.
It's time to really do our jobs.
Yeah.
Right. And pretty much everything's
So-
a hot spot during that surge.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we went down to Baghdad. We did a few missions down there, and got to go to the Green Zone and see the cross sabers and all that stuff, and didn't really do a whole lot in Baghdad either until we got moved up to Taji, which is probably
Station, isn't it? No, it's a joke. It's a Star Wars joke. Never mind.
Oh.
Tashi Station. That's where they.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Hey, if you haven't looked at part of my room here, when you've done some of these podcasts, you know I'd be nerding out. Some Star Wars stuff over in the background here. So
The only
Just
guy
looking
that,
Anyways.
the only guy I know that has a cartoon caricature of himself.
That's actually pretty dope.
Yeah.
You've got the G.I. Joe.
I agree.
Professionally done by
Jay Sullivan.
Yeah.
Also,
Shout out to Jay.
awesome. Yeah, he's
Hey, if you want to do
amazing
one
artist.
for me,
Hey, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll
That's awesome.
never know, man. Yeah, he only
Yeah.
does it because
that's crazy.
you see the stuff
Yeah.
behind me. That's all his work.
Wow.
But yeah, he actually did one up there. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna complain. You know.
Oh yeah.
I didn't ask him to do it. He
That's
did
like
it.
that's like the coolest part.
He's
of
he's amazing though, man. He's an amazing guy.
I'm asking. Do one of me.
We're gonna have to tag him in
Yeah,
this.
because I saw Rob's. Rob's is great looking. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It looks like me too. Yeah,
it looks great.
especially at the blown
yeah.
up. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, well,
Anyway.
unfortunately, eventually I'll have that all put up into one
Yeah.
room, and you can see Jay
Yeah.
Sullivan's work in
Yeah,
there.
and you can check that out on Twitch TV /VOP Gaming because that's where we stream, and Rob will be streaming there as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Twitch.tv/
But to get back on
VOP
track,
Gaming.
let's
Yeah.
let's get back to this. Yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
check that out,
Yeah.
let me
Anyways,
know. Hit
good
up,
times.
hit me up the
You always
comments.
got to plug yourself, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Got to plug someone else.
You're
in there,
welcome.
too.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
So
So we spent some time in Baghdad, and then we went up to Taji, and that's when it really got real for us in my company. So we get to Taji. Our first mission is on December the 26th. We're still right in the heart of where like Saddam's Republican Guard was and all that stuff. So we go out on a patrol, and we had 2 engineers from another unit that were on patrol with our platoon, and driving around, we pull into this old Republican Guard barracks. So we pulled in, and let's see, my vehicle, we turned off to the left, our front vehicle turned off to the right, and our rear vehicle, which was the ICV, pulled in straight. So we get in there, we stop, and all of a sudden there's this huge explosion. We're like, oh, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
You know, so it was a car bomb that was meant for a cop that was further on down the road.
Right.
But he saw us, you know, target of opportunity. So he drove right into the back end of that ICV right as they were starting to lower the ramp.
Right.
So it exploded. The ramp came all the way down. The 2 engineer guys are the guys standing right at the back of the striker
Right.
there, right there. The ramp comes all the way down. Secondary goes off,
Oh man.
and so we're like, oh man, you know, this is not good.
Right.
But turns out that the two engineers that were in the back of our striker, they had quite a bit of shrapnel in their legs and stuff like that. But other than that, they were fine. I
Oh,
heard,
that's good.
good.
you
That's
know,
good.
Yeah.
they both made
I was
full
expecting the worst,
man.
recoveries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting
You
for
know.
worse news.
Yeah.
So the striker, to me, I love the strikers. Like the most damage that guy driving up under the bottom of the back of a striker,
Right.
the most damage on that striker was a pop tire.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So they have on the back of the ICVs, they have 249 mounts
Yep.
that you can put 249, 240 in. So the little radiator, his little radiator overflow tank
Right.
had. So there's a little pin on that mount,
Yes.
and it's like got kind of a big face, and then it comes down like that.
Mhm.
It was like,
Just broke, like crushed
It-
in.
well,
Or-
yeah, it like pressed all the way through. Like the outside of that
Wow.
pin was outside of.
Oh, it's just hanging there.
No, yeah, it was hanging there, but it like went all the way. It like poked that pin all the way through
Oh
there,
man.
and I'm like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
But
You just never know. Some
that
of that
was kind of the start of this place is not going to be a good place.
stuff. No.
So
no, that's a
we
blessing though. At
spent-
least you guys didn't get.
Yeah,
You didn't get casualties really
well,
bad.
This was the second deployment. We didn't have, well, my company didn't have any casualties, any KIA casualties. We had a couple of guys that got injured and
Right.
things like that. We did have one guy that ended up being killed by an IED.
Right.
So one of our platoons was reacting to contact. So where they had set up where they were shooting at our guys that were driving up and down Tampa, and the only place to cross going down Tampa right there. There's a canal that runs down the length of Tampa, and there's only one place to go across this canal. So
Right.
obviously, we're going after these guys that go across the bridge on that canal. Well, there was a triple stack anti-tank mine
Ugh.
on that bridge. So
Yes.
it went through the anti-tank mine went through the engine compartment of the Striker, which the driver sits here, the engine compartment is here.
Right.
Like if that guy had been over
Yeah, a
like
couple more feet.
one more foot,
Yeah.
he would have been done.
Yeah.
Because it like completely blew the hood off. So on the front of the Strikers, there's slat armor,
Right.
and there's also, I guess, a Duke device, that
Yeah.
sticks out, has a black box. That whole piece came off as one piece and was like 200 meters away from where the vehicle
That's an expensive
was.
piece of gear too.
Yeah. So the worst injury out of that, the driver got his leg bruised from where the engine panels.
Dude, you got some
Blew
luckiness
off.
going
These are
on in
some
this
great
deployment,
stories.
man.
I know.
Yeah, I'm
So,
like, dude, this is some like.
It was.
Yeah.
It was at that point, it was good. So there was a MP company that was passing by, and saw what was going on, so they stopped to help us out. There was a truck on the other side of the canal that was pulling up, and we'd told him to stop a few times, so one of our guys fired a warning shot. At that point, the MP started lighting up that truck. He had I guess the guy had his
That's like
daughters
a
in his
pervert.
truck with him.
I can hear you breathing.
That's cool.
I mean, some people might like that, but
I got you.
So the guy's daughter ends up getting shot. So we have our medic. Well, our team goes over to the truck, and then our medic didn't take his aid bag with him, because we didn't know anybody was injured or anything like that. So the medic and one of the MPs come back to get his aid bag. And as they were going back across that bridge again, another IED went off. The MP was walking down the center of
Oh man.
the bridge,
Right.
and our medic was walking on the side, and it went off, and they brought the medic back into my truck, and my gunner was patching him up, and
Right.
the MP guy, they brought him back by, and they had him on a stretcher and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh man.
What was the point of origin on that?
Yeah.
Was it in the middle of the road or was it on the side?
Yeah, it was in the middle of the road.
Oh, man.
too late
It-
by then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Brutal.
he wasn't the guy wasn't like Pete Mist or anything, but
No, I'm sure.
You know,
there's-
like,
yeah,
I saw like this much of him.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not going to be good.
yeah, it's usually
So,
not that leaves a mark on you.
yeah,
it does.
so they ended up. There were some Bradleys that came by. They ended up putting him in the back of the Bradley and taking him back to base. He passed,
yeah,
on the way back to base.
That's
and
rough,
it's
man.
Like,
That sucks.
Man, that's crazy.
And it sucks 'cause
so-
you got to drive on and you got to keep going with the mission, man. You
Yep.
can't just like stop and
It's almost bad enough to the point, and I know how this sounds, but it's almost to the point where if you're gonna pass, like, at least do it instantly, so you're not in
Yeah.
pain like
Right.
for
Yeah.
half an hour, 45 minutes. Like,
well, unless there's a wound that you know you're gonna survive.
well,
At least
I mean,
mean,
if
still,
people are gonna survive, that's great.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like when you hear like, they
Yeah.
almost made it to base and passed. It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah, that sucks
they're
so
just-
bad.
Yeah, no,
your
that-
last half an hour in, you're just in excruciating pain.
Yeah, that was
Right.
just.
Yeah. Well,
That
I
was
mean, at
bad.
some
That
point,
was-
I think
yeah.
at some point when you start getting closer, you know, your stuff starts to run off, and you don't feel as
Yeah.
much, and so I mean, it's all yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean,
I've
for the
never
most
been in
part,
that situation, so
right, right.
but I just-
So out there, we ended up getting the mission of guarding. It's called the CART water treatment plant. So that water treatment plant supplies like 2/3 of the water to Baghdad.
Right.
So, we'd go out there and we'd sit for 12 hours at a time and just kind of hang out and watch and make sure nobody's trying to get at the chlorine and stuff like that, because that's where that was the time that they really started hitting chlorine bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they had that was a phase in there. I call it.
yeah.
Yep. So we're sitting out there at that water treatment plant, and one morning my platoon was out there, and we just kind of getting ready to go back to the base because our shift was almost over.
Right.
We hear this huge explosion. We're like, there's nobody in sector around us, you know. We're like, what happened? We kind of just laughed it off there for a minute, like, some Haji probably just blew himself up,
Right.
and so our battalion, that cop that was supposed to get hit by that suicide bomber, they ended up planning a huge coordinated attack. They drove
About that one same guy? Or you said the cop
Oh
that tried to
no, the guy that hit us with the car bomb, he was dead.
Right. Oh, okay. No, I'm saying, but you said you were targeting one of the cops.
Oh yeah, so
it's the same thing.
so
as another
yeah,
attack
he was targeting that cop, but
Right.
we just happened to be
Okay.
a target of opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Your better target, basically.
yeah, easier because we're just 3 trucks instead of a whole compound.
Right.
So they drove one of the, I guess you could call it a cargo truck,
Right.
into this compound. Filled the whole rear end of this truck was
Oh,
filled
man.
with explosives. Like, there's pretty much not anywhere I've seen an explosion like this.
Right.
There, the crater that explosion made, there was a Humvee in the crater.
Oh,
The whole Humvee was in the crater.
Oh, I have to say, I bet.
And there was a 2-story building. The whole face of that building was blown off.
Yeah.
So we just start heading down that way because they're calling on the radio. They have a bunch of casualties and stuff like that. And we're driving down this road that's right on the, can't remember which river it is, Tigris or Euphrates, whichever one's right there by Taji.
The ones that ran through there.
But we're driving, we're just hauling down this road, and we get into the town, and there's nobody out there. Like, oh man, here we go.
Oh, man.
I see this one dude just walking down the center of the road, and I'm contemplating whether or not I should run this guy over.
Right.
Because
Because the one guy out there.
Yeah, the one guy that's out there.
And more likely,
dude
you may not be the one it is too. Because
yeah.
just an idiot.
Yeah,
There's
so,
that one idiot. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily.
So I'm like, he didn't have a weapon on him, so I decided not to hit him. So we get into this cop and back the truck up, and they start bringing the casualties into our vehicle, and we ended up going over to a soccer field to set up, kind of a,
Like a triage unit.
yeah, well, not necessarily a triage place where the Blackhawks could come in and pick the guys
okay.
up
Yeah.
and all that, and just sitting there. We were sitting there for a little while, and
Right.
the airspace, it's hot. They're shooting at us now. RPG. There's like 6 or 8 RPGs that
Yeah,
they fired at us.
LZ.
Yeah. So finally, the Blackhawks were able to come in. They came,
Did
got
they
the
land?
guys.
Was it still hot when they came in? Because
No.
most of the time they wouldn't even land
Well,
until you clear that.
Yeah, no. So we ended up clearing it. We got Apaches on station. They finally came in and landed, and then got those guys out. So there were still more soldiers at the cop. So we went back to the cop and tried to get more. So we were going to go back over there to do another. We did go back over there and set up another one, and probably one of the coolest moments that I had happened then, because we had Apaches on station then, and there was somebody that was shooting at us from a building that was probably 50 meters straight in front of my vehicle. So my gunner calls them in, and they fly directly over my striker, shooting 30 millimeter into this building that's like 50 meters right in front of me. I'm like, man, that is so cool.
Wow, crazy.
But also earlier that day, after we'd done the initial CASEVAC, we were sitting there pulling security, and we started getting shooting from a building where that guy was walking. So the unit that we were attached to was a tank company.
Right.
So they fired a tank round into that building, and the guys from inside the building were like, you can't shoot that, it's going to collapse this building from the concussion and all that.
Right.
Well, a tow missile only has backblast.
Yeah.
So we fired a tow into that building.
Yeah.
There was no more shooting from that building.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. That's
So
those are amazing pieces of
we
gear.
got that on video too.
Oh,
So,
do you? Nice, nice. Hey, I don't think we'll be able to get that on this video, but hey.
Yeah, you're not going to see that on this video. Sorry.
Yeah, they may not like this.
There's plenty of
There's-
those videos
there's-
on YouTube.
There's no gore in the video. It's just a tow missile hitting the building.
Yeah.
It's on my Facebook.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you're one of his buddies, you can check it out on his Facebook.
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of them on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
You can check them out anywhere
Oh,
on
yeah.
YouTube.
That's pretty cool. So that was your.
Um,
so how many total deployments did you do while you were in?
So I did 2 deployments. That was the
Okay.
second deployment.
That's the second one.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the whole end of December through about July was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. I mean, there was
07
multiple
to 08.
06, 07. So it
06,
was
07,
June.
Okay.
Well, December of 06 through we
Sorry
came
about
back.
that. That would be me.
We came back
Is that
in
your camera?
September of 07.
Oh,
done.
that's this one? Oh, okay. I thought it was mine. 'cause
No,
mine
no.
was a similar thing. I was like, this is a new camera. It shouldn't be doing that.
So
Right.
So
that's,
yeah,
that's GoPro for you.
Yeah, I need a refund. If that camera's cutting out now, I need to get a refund because it's
oh yeah.
Yeah.
equipment. Sorry.
So
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
December of 06 through we went into country in June of 6
Mm-hmm.
but December of 06 through about August of 7
Mm-hmm.
was really the crazy times where in Taji we were it was a good day if none of the platoons got shot at the least. There was mortars, there was small arms fire, there was IEDs. When we were in Taji, I got hit. My vehicle alone got hit 5 times by IEDs. So that was a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're still one piece, though, that's good. I mean, you weren't big enough to do some
that's-
damage
Oh,
to
yeah.
you, which is good.
The thing about the strikers and how we operated for the most part, we would a lot of times the guidance was don't drive so fast, don't
Right.
drive so fast, don't drive so fast. Well, we would drive fast enough that when the IED would go off, it
Right. Right.
Yeah.
well, that and the armor on the
That's pretty
striker,
funny
I'm
because
sure.
my time in 04 was drive it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
You know.
You
So
know. But we always drove fast. So there was a couple of things that I was going to bring up. Let me think. What was it?
no, it's all good. Don't worries. I mean, it had to do with more of that the IEDs or the strikers, the
Oh.
abilities.
So there is one of the videos on YouTube that we were just talking about. There is a video of second platoon from my company. One of their strikers gets flipped on its side.
Oh, okay.
So on Route Tampa, there north of Taji, they had completely filled the culvert under the road with explosives, like 2,000 pounds of explosives.
That's a lot of explosives.
Wow,
So-
that's a fuck ton of explosives.
Yeah.
That's enough to do some really bad
So-
damage.
That's
Normally.
pardon my language.
So, another funny little bit of information. So there is a picture after that explosion happened and the striker sitting on its side.
Yeah.
There's a picture, one of those, shut the fuck up, Carl
Right.
pictures.
Oh,
The guy in that picture, his name is Carl.
oh man, that's insane. Now we're gonna have to get a hold of that
Like-
and put that on this video.
Yeah, I'll try to see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'll look. I'll look too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now we're gonna have to have Kevin find this for us.
So,
I've
but
already got editing to do. I might as well add some more.
but I mean
Yeah, make him do some more work.
the thing about that is, the striker was flipped on its side.
Right.
They flipped it back over, rolled it back to the base. It was back on the road 2 days later. The worst injury from that was the lieutenant tore his hamstring because he fell out of the hatch.
Yeah.
Like caught his
At least he
leg,
just fell
caught,
out,
his,
man.
caught his
Yeah.
leg as he fell out of the hatch. Rolled it back over, and they're back on the road 2 days later.
You got a lot of luck going on, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I lost a gunner getting rolled a vehicle rolling over
Yeah.
on. I talked about PFC Slocum a few
Yeah.
podcasts ago, but
Mhm.
that's just a
Yeah.
lot of miracles you got going on. in
Yeah,
that
I mean,
deployment.
the whole-
we
the
lost
whole-
somebody like that too.
Yeah.
The whole rollover deal for me was always kind of a big deal because both of our deployments, the first, I want to say, I know in the first deployment, the first people that were killed in striker brigades
Yeah.
were because their vehicle rolled over into a canal.
Yeah. That's how
And
most of the
so
time
they
happened.
had, this was the first striker deployment ever,
Right.
and they had, so on the strikers they have the main ramp and then they have a man door.
Right.
So they had their man door padlocked on the outside. So when the striker rolled over into the canal,
can't get out.
there's only one small hatch on the side, and it's underwater,
yep.
and it's heavy as shit already. So
Right.
they weren't able to get out.
Yeah.
And
that sucks.
I don't think it was the first casualties of the second deployment, but it was some of the first casualties was due to a rollover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then of course
That's-
on top of that too, you didn't know how they went out. You know, they could have
Yeah.
been, you know, knocked from the
Knocked out
accident. Yeah,
Oh,
get
yeah.
rolled around inside of a vehicle, inside
Yep.
of a canal, or
Yeah.
Yep.
you just never know. Which
Yep.
so
You know what's weird is that's more common than people would think, where a Humvee or Striker rolls into a canal with water,
Yep.
and people pass away from.
oh yeah,
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of like they drowned,
yep,
and hopefully they weren't conscious for it because that's
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a horrible way to die.
horrible. Yeah.
If that is, but I
Yeah.
mean, even
Yeah.
I mean, you just hope that you pray that they don't have the, you know,
Yeah. After
To endure that.
Yeah.
after that first accident, they gave every vehicle scuba tanks for
right,
everybody in that vehicle. So it's
Right.
like if you do roll over, you know,
You've got time.
you got a little bit more
you
time
figure
at
out some
least
time
to
to
try
get
to
out.
get out.
Yeah, try to get out
So-
through the driver's door or something like that
Yeah.
on the side.
The
So
the
hatch.
the Humvee training, that we do for a rollover.
Yeah, the egress training.
Yeah, that actually came into play when I got in my
Yep.
when I got into my car accident as a civilian.
Oh wow.
Because we rolled 5 times on the freeway, landed upside down on a truck, and my training kicked in.
Oh,
I
wow.
looked for the
Yep.
first door that would open,
Yep.
and I started dragging people out. Like it was just that training will stick with you
Yep.
forever.
It's like the Hilo one too. The Hilo
Yep.
Dunker.
Yeah.
They have
I
the
haven't
egress
had to-
training.
I haven't had to do any of that, but and I
Right.
hope I never will. But
Yeah.
yeah. So actually, after I got out, one of the jobs that I have done since I've been out was I was actually the instructor operator for the MRAP rollover program.
Well, there you go.
yeah,
So
MRAPs are great.
That was a great vehicle.
Yeah,
The only thing
So-
sucked is if they're. I mean the Cat ones were the terrible ones because they have basically the old leaf suspension in it, and it's the worst thing to ride in, man. It's the worst ride ever. When they started doing the spring overs,
Yep.
they started getting the regular, better ride suspension on the Cat 2s and Cat 3s is when it was that just the ultimate vehicle at that point.
we took Mortifier and Ramadi, and one of my buddies with EOD, and they ended up bringing their MRAP over there because because we were on the outside of Ramadi, so when we would get attacked first because we were right
Right.
by, and so they brought up their MRAP, and the EOD guys were like, "I'd like to see them try." And when they sat in their MRAP, they put up their gyroscope,
Yep.
and then they just started looking through town. Like if they're gonna attack, they're gonna come this way, so we can figure out where they have a few ideas where they were coming from.
Right.
And so they just sat in their MRAP, and it was cool because one of my buddies who he used to be in our unit, and then when we deployed, he ended up going or when he re-enlisted, he ended up going EOD.
Right.
And so we ran into each other. It was one of those things. We ran into each other in Ramadi, and he was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And we ended up hanging out, and he was like, "Well, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, I'm with EOD now," and I was like, "We need to hang out more." And so when we took Mortarfire, and he showed up, he was like, "I got you." He's like, "You want to come in the MRAP and help us fight?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." So he sat there, and he had his joysticks, and he was like, "All right, now here's the screen. This is what it does. This is
Right.
what this does and that does." And he's like, "You want to try it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do, of course."
You're like
Heck
no,
yeah.
and you push him out of the way.
Yeah.
and-
So
Yeah.
we were
Sit
sitting there,
down.
and like you would see kids playing soccer, and it would be like you would see like clarity like this, and you'd
Right.
like, push that button, boom, and it would switch. So then you'd be able to see heat signatures.
Right.
Like, this is insane. Like, how do I get this job? And he's like, "Well, re-enlist in EOD," and I'm like, well, "I don't know about all of that."
Yeah,
but-
yeah, and then I gotta put the
Yeah.
bomb suit on. That's okay. I'm
Yeah,
cool.
they don't make bomb suits my size, so
I guess you lucked out. Yeah, you're an extra small.
Yeah, exactly. Like fat man in a little coat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
oh man.
So what'd you do when you got out? You were talking about you got out and you were doing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
and then-
So I got out and
You got out in
I got out in 07.
Okay, 07.
Like right near the end of 07. So I was getting out, and my wife already lived here. So I'm like, you know what? You're already. She was teaching dance at the time, and I'm like, you know what? I'll find a job, whatever.
Yeah.
So I came here. I worked, a couple of jobs here and there for probably about 2 years, and then I got a call for the MRAP rollover.
Nice.
Rollover position.
Yeah.
Right.
So I took that position, and at that point, I'd been in the reserves for a year and a half. I was trying to reclass to military intelligence.
There's nothing
You know.
intelligent about intelligence.
No, but
I'm just
you
kidding.
know it.
Just kidding,
so,
Intel guys. I worked there before.
So I'd been in the unit probably a year before because I had to go through and get top secret clearance and all
Right.
that stuff. So I had ended up extending, and I was past my 8 years. Kept extending, and stuff like that. So when the MRAP rollover job came through, it's like I can't skip this. But I had a school date to go to reclass.
Right.
And that was like the 3rd of October of 2010. Well, my start date for my job was the 10th of October in 2010.
Oh man.
And they were like, well, you can go to your school or you can show up for the job. I said, I'll be there.
Right.
So, this is like right after I got my clearance done and all that. I go back to my unit and like, I'm not going to school. I'm getting out. They're like,
Right.
at first, of course, they were a little irritated that, they
They're gonna send you
put
to
all this
school.
money
Yep.
and all that stuff
Yeah.
into me. And I'm like, sorry.
Right.
But,
Just send somebody else.
Yeah, they found somebody else. Like as soon as
I
you said
guarantee
no,
Oh, yeah.
they
Oh, yeah.
they were on
Well,
the phone. They found somebody that day.
It's the reserves, so
Yeah.
it didn't
Alright.
really matter anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so while I was in the reserves, I was in E4, and we went to AT. I was the battalion level S2
Right.
as an E4.
Oh wow.
So it's like, yeah, whatever.
Sounds like the Marine Corps.
Yeah. It's like wherever
Yeah.
wherever they can put somebody.
You're good at that job. You're an E2. That's okay. You can you can have.
Well, you're an
you
infantry
know-
guy. No, you're now S2.
Yeah, you can have E6s
Yep.
and E7s answering to you because you're good at your job.
Yep.
Or just listen to your reports.
Yeah.
In this case.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
hey, type up an intel report.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this job, the pay was amazing, and I'm like, I'm taking this job.
Yeah.
So I've been in the contract world. I got into the contract world there in 2010,
Right.
and once the MRAP contract ended, I ended up becoming a supply specialist at the Training Sports Center at Gowan Field here. So did that for a couple of years, ended up becoming the site lead, and let's see, back in 2018 they ended up making some state positions for us because the Training Sports Center at Gowan Field is basically becoming the National Training Center for the Guard.
Right.
There's
Wow.
there's a couple of different bases that they're kind of trying to do that with, but the main one right now is Gowan Field and the Orchard Combat Training Center. So we had 2 state positions open up, and I moved into one of those state positions as the TADS instructor. TADS are training aids, devices, simulations, and simulators.
Wow.
So
Huge acronym.
yeah. So I was the instructor for that. We're the ones that whenever you have training, we provide the training aids, we provide miles,
Right.
all kinds of stuff like that. So did that for about 2 years, and here about a month or so ago, I became the Training Support Center manager.
Wow.
So it's
I'll be sending you my resume.
yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Do
Well,
that.
he'll actually.
Do
We'll
that.
talk.
He was
offline
trying to
about
get me
that.
put
You
into
might
there.
you might
Yeah.
you might want to edit this part out, but we have.
We'll talk about it after.
Yeah,
we'll
talk
talk
about
about it offline.
We don't want to put no plugs in
Yeah.
here for people.
Sorry about
Now,
that.
if you want to do it, put it in the comments. We can
Yeah.
actually
You can,
refer you, but
direct message Veterans OP, and we'll work on that. But,
right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been doing that for about a month and a half. I'm
Oh, nice.
getting into it. It's a lot more work.
Oh, I
A
bet.
lot more, Well, it's not the hard work. It's more the headaches that, hey, this is messed up. You need to go fix this. Plus coming in right at the end of the fiscal year where it's like, oh, we got to get this budget spent and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But
Yeah. Well, that's
it's-
usually what
it's-
happens.
for me, it's literally been right place, right time,
Yeah.
knowing the
Yeah,
right
you walked
people.
into a lot of stuff, man. Like
Yeah.
right into that, which is not a bad thing.
and-
That's a good thing,
I hope
actually.
some of that
Yeah.
luck
You know,
rubs off on
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Right,
For,
right.
for me,
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know for a fact that it's not like this for most of the people that are in the military, but
Yeah, we already talked
I've
about that.
been.
Oh yeah, we've been through this before.
know.
Prior to
Yeah.
coming
Oh
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm blessed, and
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it going,
That's
man.
great. though.
everything
Yeah, you gotta go.
everything's
Yeah.
just kind of fallen into place for me.
Mhm.
So
Good to hear.
So now we talked about you met your wife. Do you have any children?
yes, I have three kids now.
That's awesome.
I got a 12-year-old son that, you know, I'm
Like
surprised
to
there
hang out
hasn't.
with my kid.
I'm-
They're upstairs
I'm-
right
He's
now.
probably-
Probably.
Yeah,
here.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm surprised there hasn't been noise coming through into this podcast from our kids.
You
playing
know, my
together.
kids are pretty good about like, and they know I'm podcasting. They're usually pretty good about like
Yeah.
which is cool. That's
Throwing
awesome.
each other down the stairs.
Yeah, they're not killing each other. You
Yeah.
know,
That
stuff.
literally happened right before we pushed record.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
just
right.
kidding.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
If it is, it didn't happen. I didn't hear it.
that.
Yeah, right, right.
So-
I was kidding. He's got
So I've got
nice
a
kids.
12
Well-being.
12-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter, and a 1-year-old son.
Oh,
So
that's cute. Yeah.
so we were almost at that point where it's like, oh, we're good.
Well, you've already
we're good.
almost got the fire team. Are you looking to get
You
the
know.
fire team, or are you just going to stay at 3 right now?
Well, we're still in negotiations.
Okay.
Right, right.
Fair
Go-
enough,
that's
fair
con-
enough.
that's in contracting.
Kinda-
Yeah, that's in
you know.
contracting right now.
I think with all of our kids, it's kind of been. It hasn't really been. Yes, let's do this now. You know.
Yeah.
I think our 1-year-old was more the one that was like, hey, let's do this. But you know, right now it's kind of like we'd like to have another one, so our youngest kind of has
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
close to his age.
Kind of even it
you
out
know,
a little
yeah,
bit.
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah,
We'll see.
wife's working a lot too, right?
we'll see.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
So
Now,
yeah.
are you the first in your family to do the military? Do you have any?
no, my grandpa was in the Air Force, and he served during World War One.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And I can't remember if he was in World War II also, but he was in the Philippines in World War One.
Mm.
My uncle was in the Navy.
Mhm.
I don't really know much of what he
Yeah.
did. They never really talked about it too much.
They don't make them like they
So-
did back in World Wars.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I still got to get that. I got a purple
yeah.
heart from one of my great
Yeah.
uncles.
He's
Yeah.
got some. He's got some cool swag from that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
they get it up on the wall eventually.
Yeah.
Nice.
They
They'll
just
make it.
complete the whole 360
Yeah.
military room.
Yeah. So my dad tried to join the military, but he was flat-footed, and back then that was
Yeah.
something that would disqualify him.
Everything that will definitely
'Cause,
disqualify you
know,
even today.
It
if
will
they,
today, yeah.
yeah. Well, when I went through, I'm flat-footed, but I still got in. So
Right, right. Well, you know what though? It's all about.
thanks a
It's
lot,
really
guys.
about luck and timing because
How you
because
do
I
it.
had I did have slight scoliosis, which is disqualified. I didn't even know I had it.
Yeah.
My daughter has it pretty bad, but you know, I never knew I had it, but I miraculously got in with scoliosis, a slight case of scoliosis. So
Oh yeah.
you know, so I'm gonna
Yep.
knock
I
on wood
remember
on that
Getting
and all
checked
that.
for that too.
Oh yeah, we all get checked, but they saw it on me. They literally
Yep.
could tell that I had scoliosis, and they were like, just let him go, you know,
We-
kind of thing.
we
So
need the
flat foot.
bodies. Yeah. We need the
Well,
bodies in the
yeah,
Marine
you
Corps.
never know. You never
Yeah.
know.
Well, there were a lot of people I knew who were flat-footed in the Marine Corps, and then like a year and a half in, they were getting med stepped for like
Yeah, it's severe flat foot.
fractures.
They try
like
to
fractures in their shin and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they can't raise that with an arch, like
Yeah.
put an arch in your stuff, they're not going to want you because of that. They
Yeah,
get fractures
Yep.
and it just causes a problem. So as long as you're not
Yeah.
extremely flat-footed,
Yeah.
you know, or bone spurs, or because bone spurs can do it too, especially in your heels, because you can't hike at that
Yeah.
point. Or
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so lucky you, man. See, look,
Yeah.
this guy's all kinds. You're like a walking set of dice here,
Where's your where
Loaded
do you
dice.
keep your rabbit's foot at?
right?
Can
It's a
I
secret.
Can I borrow
Yeah,
it?
can you borrow it?
Just like 6 months.
Right,
like,
right. Or
I've
just-
got some things coming up. Like, I just need a little.
Just
bit
for your
of,
job interviews coming up.
Yeah, exactly. I just need that little bit of extra luck.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna go scratch a few lottos. So
You can rub elbows later or
Right.
yeah,
something.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool, man. Sounds like you had a good
Yeah.
career. So,
That's great.
you, overall, you loved it, hated it, okay, in terms of the
You
Army?
know, overall, it was a really good experience for me. You know, number one for me, it got me out of my hometown, got me on a career path.
Get you on the right track.
It really
Life. Yeah.
it really changed the direction of what my life could have been.
Right.
Because if I wouldn't have joined the military, I'd probably be that guy that
Oh, I don't know.
Just-
If I didn't join the military, I'd probably be, well, just like any of the other.
Everybody knows
People that
that
just-
guy
Yeah.
in their hometown.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah. You know,
You don't want to be that guy.
because
I'm glad I'm not that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Right.
before I joined the military, I had a girlfriend. We dated for like 2 years,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like 17, and we'd been married and had a kid, and been working. Probably ended up working all my life,
Right.
Till the day that I die.
And
Because
breaking your back doing.
Yep. Construction or something.
Yeah.
Something.
There's nothing wrong with
No, there's nothing
doing
wrong
those
with construction.
jobs,
I'm just saying, but
Yes.
it is backbreaking work.
those jobs
Yeah.
where you never, there's no room to progress.
Right.
And you get trapped in them because you end up getting 3-4 kids and
Yep.
you
It's.
just,
oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, good money,
Yeah.
but man, it's
Oh, yeah.
rough. It's
I'm
rough.
I'm all about like trade schools and stuff like that.
Skills.
Yep.
Yeah.
Skills
Yeah.
like that are something that I think
They're
are
necessary. They're
really,
necessary to
Oh,
have.
absolutely.
really necessary for our.
I mean, not everybody has to go to college. Like for me, I'm still debating whether I want to go to college or maybe do a trade school.
It's
instead.
never
I
too
mean,
late to go
there's
to
so much
college
stuff.
either.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Or trade school.
Yeah, or trade
Yep.
school, or there's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
things out there that you can do.
So we asked this question to everybody. 2 questions. First, what was your best moment while you were in? So that moment when you look back and it brings a smile to your face.
Going
No
to
matter-
PX in Iraq, man.
No,
Didn't
no
say
matter
that.
yeah, that's Starbucks in your lip. you know.
right.
No matter how small it was to you, that moment when you think about it and you're like, that was
A defining moment.
yeah, that makes me happy every time I think about it.
It may not be. Everybody may
I
have it or
don't know.
not. Who knows?
I can't really think of one instance that's just like, it really. That was the one
Well,
thing. I
or
think
one in general.
That works.
I think probably the first time that I came back from from deployment. It's like I made it through, and
Yeah.
I've been to combat. I was an infantryman, and made it through.
Yeah.
Just the whole
Coming back to American soil.
yeah.
I can appreciate that.
You know,
As an
That's
American, I can,
interesting.
coming back
that's a
knowing
great,
that
yeah, that's a great feeling.
knowing that I went and did my job, met the enemy face to face, and made it through.
Yeah.
It's like I think another situation is probably like I've always been a big guy, and I've
I
never
feel you on that one.
I've never liked running or anything like
I
that.
feel you on that one.
And it was like in basic, just whenever they start doing these runs and stuff, one thing that I still remember to this day was the first time that we did like a 3-mile run. Like I'd never even, like, somebody said 3-mile run to me, I'd be like, "Fuck is wrong with you?"
Right.
yeah.
Like, look at me.
Not many want to go 3
You know,
miles.
Welcome to
but,
the Marine Corps.
you know,
Right. That's every
Yeah.
run to the Marine Corps is at least 3.
But it's like,
Unnecessary.
you go and you do that,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
I
Why?
really just did that.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's a great
it was such a confidence booster, and then a couple weeks later it was a 5-mile run.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
there's other than doing PT and stuff in the Army, I've never ever run 5 miles unless I had to.
Right. Right.
But
Because even a bear will give up after about half a mile.
Right.
Yeah.
You just got to run faster than the bear.
You just have to run faster than your friend.
Yeah.
That's
You don't have to
true.
run faster
Well,
than
you
Yes.
better hope you've got a friend there. If
it's
you're out there by
true.
yourself, I mean,
Don't climb a tree.
Yeah.
yeah. That's not usually a good idea. Just,
Well,
just
you have to run faster than your friend that you just kicked their knee out.
right,
It's true.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
suck the steak to the back of his shirt or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. So,
So the other question we normally ask is, what was the
low
worst
point.
moment? Yeah, the low point in your time. Not necessarily like we all have that with losing people is usually the one. If you don't want to talk about that, that's fine. Like mine was my first. Me and my first sergeant didn't get along, and when I tried to get out, I tried to join the Army, and he was like, "You can't pass the Marine Corps PFT," because I broke my collarbone, so I couldn't do pull-ups, but I could do push-ups. And when I tried to join the Army, he was like, "No, if you can't do ours, you can't do theirs." So that was my low
Right.
point. That's when I felt like my unit turned their back. Well, that's the last straw when I felt like my unit turned their back on me.
right,
So-
right. And we don't do names or nothing like that. We just kind of
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
what was your?
Oh, yeah.
You
You
just said
know,
you first sergeant.
Yeah, I was just. That's the example I like to use because if you want to talk about losing somebody, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying not to.
Yeah, I mean,
but
there.
it's a
You had a few on the
really-
second deployment, so
Yeah.
who knows?
it's a sensitive subject.
You know,
to a lot of people.
even for me, like I've never been somebody that gets down about things. You know, like people dying, things like that. That's, to me, that's the course of life.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna, everybody's gonna die someday. You know,
Yes.
and my friends that did pass away, you know, even though it sucks that, you know, they're gone,
Yeah.
they were serving their country. They chose to do that. That's
Right.
you know, for the most part, that's
It's an
they were
honorable-
doing what
it's
they
an honorable
love.
profession. Yep.
You know, and so I do want to shine a light on some of them.
Sure.
You know, we
absolutely.
had one of our fire support NCOs. His name was Brian Long from Wyoming. Our second deployment, he had got moved to one of the other infantry battalions, and this was like June or July of 07. Like, we're getting ready to go home. Like,
Yeah.
a couple more days and all of our missions are done. So he ended up stepping on a anti-personnel mine, and you
Oh,
know,
man.
he knew that he had stepped on it, but it hadn't gone off yet, and everybody else got away. You know, that whole
Right.
situation. But you know, that was probably one of the hardest ones for me, because that was the first person that I really knew,
Yeah.
you know, that had passed away. So
Yeah.
so there was him, and then a guy that I met when I was in the reserves here.
Right.
He ended up, his name was Chris Workman. He was from Rupert. He's actually buried in the veteran cemetery out there. I met him when I was in the reserves here, and you know, he ended up going on to active duty. So, and he wanted to go NBC, or CBRN nowadays.
Right,
That's
right.
what it's called. But he ended up with a helicopter unit in 25th ID out of Hawaii. So I mean, you know, he got to go live in Hawaii for a little bit, which that's cool. But I don't remember all the details, but he was a crew chief on a helicopter, and they went out in some bad weather, I think, to rescue some Afghan soldiers, and their helicopter ended up crashing and
Oh man.
passed away from that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't feel like I have any kind of PTSD or anything like that. Like I don't get like any
Probably does. It just
nightmares.
doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
We all get it. I mean, I
mean,
don't think
To
I
some
have it.
degree, Yeah.
Yeah, we all have something.
Like for me, the only thing that I would think might be like PTSD related is like sometimes at night, like I'll have anxiety, like are all the doors
That's
locked?
PTSD.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
You know,
So you got something.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know,
It's just
it's
about
like,
how severity of it.
Well,
You know.
I think a lot of it is depending on your support unit.
Yeah.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, when they get it bad, they don't have somebody to turn to
Right.
who understands what they're going through.
A lot of them straight turn to alcohol, man.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
that's a big that's one of the
big
worst
thing.
things.
Oh yeah.
So I think everybody who deploys, or not necessarily deploys, but everybody in the military has some degree of it. It
I-
just depends
you-
on your support
I,
structure.
I,
behind you.
I really think that, you know, PTSD isn't just a military thing. You
It's
know,
not.
there's,
Yeah, it's
It's not.
you know, there's everybody experiences traumatic things in their life.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's all about how that person is able to cope with it
Yep.
and move forward.
Right, right.
You
Yeah,
know,
we did
and-
talk about that a few times too. Yeah, you bring up
Yeah.
the things that we
Yeah.
You know,
that we
so
definitely
it's-
discussed.
so-
It's just true statement.
You know, for me, I've always been like, for the most part, super easygoing, and you know, everything's going to be all right type guy, and
Yeah.
all that. So I think that that's really helped me. But
Yeah, definitely.
I think
Yeah, it goes in cycles too. So you be up in your highs, and you know you stay high for a little bit, then you just boom, and
It's,
it just crashes on you every once in a while.
Mhm.
oh yeah,
That's kind of my philosophy with most stuff is just like, you know, water on a duck's back. Just
Right.
rolls off.
yep,
Because, I mean,
yep,
there's no point in stressing about stuff that you can't do anything about.
Mhm.
Right.
And like you were
Yep.
saying, it sucks, you know, some people pass and stuff like that, but it's life, you know,
Mhm.
like,
yep,
and especially like after seeing or after having it happen multiple times, like it never gets easier, but it gets easier to deal with,
Mhm.
you know, so it's one of
Right.
those like,
or you just find a way that makes it easier for you to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and that's the biggest thing. I
Yep.
mean, you obviously come up with a good coping mechanism, and you know, with it being Suicide Awareness Month, you know, maybe something that we're talking.
Yeah.
It's something to
We'll,
take from this, you
Yeah.
know, as well as listen to Kevin's
Yeah.
awesome story here. We also, you know, something to
something-
keep in mind if you're one of those, regardless of whether you're in the military and have PTSD or you know you had some kind of traumatic event in your life. Just remember, you know, we're talking about some of the ways that it helps you, which is coping.
I think we're gonna have a separate video on that.
Absolutely, yeah, we will do something like that. We might as well do the plug since it is that month.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
It is about that time. Yeah.
Yes,
For
yes.
for the video to come out.
yeah, we do got to get that done, right?
Yeah. It's more editing to do.
Yeah, but I think that one of the things that's been really good for me, like a lot of times, you know, when you're in the military, especially infantry guys in the military, we drink a lot.
Yeah,
You know, like when I was living in the barracks,
This is true.
you know,
yeah. When I was young,
drink a lot,
Don't
drink
do
a
that
lot,
now.
drink a lot, drink a lot. I don't.
except for Danny's
since,
podcast.
Since I've been out of the military, I really don't drink much anymore. Like, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This guy,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
you know, I mean, and I think for the most part, you know, that's one of the things that's really helped me, because a lot of the people that I know that get down and get depressed
Yep.
is because of alcohol use.
Yeah, you start turning to that.
know.
That becomes your coping. That's
Yeah.
a bad coping
Yep.
mechanism because
Yeah.
all you do is suppress something. Then you're gonna have to deal with it at some point.
Yep.
Well, the chemical imbalance that you get from drinking,
That too.
it definitely messes with you on a different level, and especially when you have your own trauma and then you just you compound
Yeah.
it on top of that. Like,
Well, I mean, suppressing it doesn't help it any.
No,
You know,
pushing it
at some
deep
point
in.
you have to deal with something at some point.
Yeah,
think
we'll
it's
get
a
into
big
that
thing.
more in the
Yeah. But see, maybe
So-
we'll have to come back for that one because I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
I'm definitely it does
I'll,
something else we
I'll
do.
definitely
and
come back
Yeah.
come back over if you all want
that'd be cool,
So-
man.
for the suicide prevention one.
I was just thinking, like another question to ask, and I think we'll stick with this.
What's
if
that?
you could give one piece of advice to either a young person going in or somebody thinking about going in, what would be your one piece of advice?
So, at where I work, we have high school kids and stuff
Sure.
like that. They come through and, with their ROTC
Yeah.
units, they come in and all that stuff. And, I kind of try to give them, kind of the benefits that the military has. Like if you don't really have a sense of direction, or
intangibles.
if you have
Yeah.
something that you think you want to do, but maybe college isn't right for you,
Right.
like especially for the National Guard soldiers,
Yeah.
because if college is right for them, they'll go to their basic, do their AIT, and they come back and they can go to school while also, serving, getting a drill check, getting that time on the job.
Yeah.
And you've already got your basic instruction on whatever it is that you want to do, like especially for medical people. Medical schools and stuff like that are super expensive.
Super expensive,
You
yeah.
you come into the military, to be a combat medic. You'll
That
get
was a
that.
complete accident. Sorry about that. I was trying to silence this.
Jeez.
You come into the military on the medical side, you'll get your EMT, all your everything basic to become an EMT.
Yeah.
And if you want to go further than that, be a doctor, whatever, you come into the military, go to college, they'll pay for your tuition for college while you're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
getting experience on a job.
Yeah, yeah. I always
know,
talk about the
and-
intangibles with people because I mean,
Yeah,
you
and
can go
it's not-
to
it's not
any
just-
job and go to college.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the great thing about the military, and I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder or nothing because you're absolutely right. But there's no other place you're going to really find that self confidence because that's one thing that military builds a lot of
Yeah.
self discipline.
Discipline.
They definitely going to teach
Oh,
you a
yeah.
lot of self discipline. And things those intangibles that you won't get anywhere is what you get from the military, which is
Yeah.
which no matter what you do afterwards, translates very well because all
Yeah.
these jobs want that kind of stuff. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be CEO of a company right off the bat. But having these intangible skills, you can only get from the military. You can't get it from. I mean, you can to some degree in some other places, but you'll never get it to the level that you will
Yeah.
while you're serving.
It's one of those things where, excuse me, weird. It's one of those things where
Allergies.
it's something.
COVID.
Yeah.
COVID.
Oh, hey, man. Hey,
Put that
hey.
mask. He's got a mask on his
Don't-
face already.
Don't put that out.
Oh, wait,
that's
that's
why the
beard.
pop filter is there.
Right. It's
That's
the beard.
not a mask, yeah.
Yeah. The beard mask works the same way
Hey,
for
just
him.
because you can't grow one like this doesn't mean you
don't
make
want
one. Yeah. That's what everybody says who can't grow one.
Oh.
Anyways.
Wow, that hurts, man. That
Oh,
hurts.
sorry.
You're gonna make me
started
grow
it.
one now.
You started it.
We're gonna look like twins after this if I can do this. I
I'm
don't
gonna
have
shave.
to.
I gotta shave it then.
All right, see, I'm gonna take that away from you.
But it's one of those things where like trade schools and or like colleges, like you don't get on the job training. They teach you
No.
how to do something, but in the military, like if you go in your field for 3.5 years, if you only do it 4 years, you get on the job training. So when you come out, you can roll straight into a job.
And the thing about the military also is, even when colleges give internships, you're not getting paid for that.
Exactly.
Right.
Whereas in the military,
You get a paycheck first
you're getting
15.
paycheck.
Yeah,
You're
you're getting paid
paycheck every
regardless of
month.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you actually get paid pretty dang well nowadays, man.
Yep.
But now, if you look at paychecks
Must have
nowadays,
changed.
oh man, I mean, you got kids
Oh, yeah.
driving around
I was
freaking,
making trash.
oh yeah,
I was making trash.
Beamers. Well,
E1
dude, I made
E1 to E4 isn't bad. It's
Yeah, yeah. Well, so here it is, man. When I first came in, $9.90 a month.
Well, I mean,
That was 1994. So when you look at it now, they're making a lot more than I made.
yeah.
But it's actually not bad. I mean, realistically, looking at the pay, you're not, it's a lot better than some of the stuff.
You sure
Yeah,
that's
my
just
pop
tea?
filter just completely.
Is that just tea?
Hey, but it was out of my scope there where I was talking. I was actually looking at you and not the.
Your blind
So
spot?
judgmental. So no, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, you really think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
but I think they were good points, though, man. I think
Yeah.
that it's a good. That's a good thing
You
to
know,
bring.
and it's just try and. I think one of the things that I try to, impart on my kids and everybody is having a good attitude about things.
Right.
Definitely.
No matter what it is you're doing, if you have a good attitude about it, it's gonna be better than if you go into it like, oh,
Right.
this is gonna suck.
You,
This is
you know,
gonna
I
be
would
stupid.
right. And you know what? I would honestly recommend if you're going to look at going into the military, if I can give you any advice that would save you for your career, if you're going to do it, wear hard-soled boots. Start wearing hard-soled boots now, especially if you're in high school, because I say probably half the injuries that you get in the military nowadays are shin splints to stress fractures.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah. And
because
even-
all those tennis shoes don't help when you actually put on
Oh, yeah.
hard-soled boots, and you wear those every single day on active duty.
Yeah,
So just
and
throwing that out there.
Even with like the advances they've made with boots and stuff like that, you're still.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest injuries.
You definitely have to break in your boots.
Yes.
But I think that once, like for me, like I still wear boots every day to work.
Yeah.
They're not combat boots, but
Right. I still
know.
wear combat boots on and
yeah,
off.
I wore combat boots today.
Yeah. See, there you go.
yeah,
See, oh yeah.
you know.
See, I do it every once in a while. I wear my jungles every once in a while,
Yeah.
and I was when
I
I
miss
when I
those.
worked as
Wore
a
my
cop.
jungles, yeah.
Yeah, when I worked as a law enforcement officer, I was wearing them too, but because that's one of the requirements.
Yep.
But so get used to wearing boots if you want to be in the military
Yes.
or law enforcement career.
I still have a pair of. I wore my Marine Corps combat jungle boots today because I still
Nice.
had a good pair in
Yep.
decent shape.
Oh man.
Yeah,
still
I
wear 'em.
bought a pair when I got out. I love the jungle so much. I still wear them.
I might next time I'm in California and San Diego. I might go by the depot and see if I can get
Sergeant
some.
Grits.
Some huh?
Sergeant Grits.
Oh,
They actually sell the. That's where I bought my my jungles off of.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Sergeant Grits
good.
hit me up with some boots.
There you go. There
Shout
you go.
out
Throw that
Sergeant
at Sergeant Grits. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to leave with?
Yeah. Anything you got to plug or anything you?
I mean, you imparted some wisdom there to them, which is great. It's a good thing for these young
Yeah,
young fellas
no.
and women out there.
Anybody. Period.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything we said so far,
Yeah, definitely.
but I think kind of the biggest thing is have positive attitude,
Yeah,
Definitely.
and
that's a hard one for some people too.
I think for me, that's one of the things that's really helped. Not just me personally, internally, but people that I come into contact with, they see that I'm generally positive about things, and
Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
You can ask a lot of people who know me personally. One of my things is when people, are getting down, it could be worse. It could always be
Yeah.
worse.
oh yeah,
Just straight up, like I came from very poor, very bad background,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I look at things like, it could always be worse. I've lived
Absolutely.
worse. So
Yep.
that's why I always tell people, they're like, "Oh, this is crap," blah blah blah. It could be worse.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and
relax.
there's people like Kevin. I mean, he's probably seen a lot. I mean, the stuff he was saying today is a lot worse than most of you'll probably see in your lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff scars you for life,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So,
So
if he can have a positive attitude, you can too.
Yeah, take it in strides.
Absolutely, he had a great story, man. I enjoyed listening to you
that's
today,
great.
dude.
Yeah.
Any of these military
thanks.
stories, you only do. Where else can you do this? Other than in a
right.
bar, with just fellow veterans together. You can't do this with this. And you're sure we're videoing this for other people to see, but
This is great.
this is
Like,
only things that most vets talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We don't normally. I don't sit down with
Yeah.
my neighbor. These
Mm-hmm.
just any old Joe next door and
Oh, yeah.
talk to
I
my
think we talked
military
about
story.
this in Matt's video.
Yeah.
About how this feels like when you sit down, like people who aren't veterans are getting a look on the inside of our world. How we just talk to each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we just sit down, have a beer or whatever you're drinking, and just sit down and tell stories.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's kind of what this
Yeah,
is.
like I never met you before,
Yeah.
like 15 minutes before we started this.
Yeah, we met,
You
like,
know,
at-
and it's like we're just
we just sit and talk, and
Yeah.
we get each other on a wavelength because
Right.
we've done.
Well, there's camaraderie in there
Similar
between us,
things.
regardless of what service you've ever been to. We now, yes, we screw with each other in
Yeah.
terms of make fun of each other. But you know what?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, if I had to we had to go in there and bust some heads in and rock out some rifles and all that kind of stuff, dude, look how easy it is. That we already know everything about
Yeah.
what each
Oh,
other
yeah.
is or what we came
yeah.
from.
in a nondescript location.
Yeah, and this is not. This is just speaking hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically.
So I mean, it's the same thing with us communicating, man. It doesn't matter the acronyms, we throw out a lot of acronyms. We're trying to help you understand some of that stuff. But when you throw all
you
that
know,
stuff out there, we're all very the same.
I
in
think
terms of-
I think that's one thing that is special about the military. Like at least from the active duty side, you don't see it as much in like the reserves and
right,
to a point the National
To a
Guard
degree,
because
right.
when you're on active duty, like
Yes.
I was 2,500 miles away from my home,
Right.
Where all my friends and my family are. So being there, that is my friends and family now.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
And
But I'd say this though
everybody.
too. We even if it's a reserve guy, let's say we're a bunch of, and this I know this happened one time. Bunch of active duty guys, right, hanging out. It was in Vegas, I believe, is where I was at.
Mhm.
A couple of reserve guys came, and they were in a club, and I guess some people were giving them,
Mhm.
crap and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And believe it or not, all the active duty guys were like, "Whoa, hey, that's one of ours.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
one of
yeah.
us. Don't miss, it doesn't matter where
Oh,
you
yeah.
come from. You're
Oh,
one of
yeah.
us."
There was I was drinking in this bar in Reno.
Say it ain't so.
And
Just kidding. I'm messing with you.
surprise, surprise. And I was sitting there and I saw a dude who had an army hat on. So I came up and I was like, "Hey, let me buy you a drink." And we were sitting there talking and we ended up sitting in a booth. We were with some other people, and so we started telling stories and having drinks. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm National Guard and stuff like that." So I'm giving him ribbing him a little.
Right.
And one of the guys in the bar, it was like a biker bar, but
Right.
these guys were like, it was like a poser thing. Like, you see them and you're like, shut up, sit down. Like, we've all seen Sons of Anarchy. Go away. Like,
Right.
you're not. This is nothing. And he started, making fun, of the guy, and it was one of those things. Like, I met this guy maybe a half an hour ago, and he's National Guard, but it was one of those things like, hey, were you in? No, shut your mouth.
Right.
If you got a problem,
Yep.
we can handle this problem, but now we have a problem.
Right.
And
Yep.
I'm sure you've got a problem with him now.
You got a problem with them, you got a problem with us.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never met the guy before or anything, but it's
Yeah.
one of those things.
I tell you, it's a
where-
brotherhood, man.
Yeah.
It's a brother and sisterhood. Don't,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. If it's a sister, I jump on that too. So
It's,
in terms of defending
yeah.
somebody,
It's a military like fraternity
yes,
or sorority or whatever.
I'd
you
say
want.
more. Yeah, wherever you want to put it.
Men and women, it's
Yeah.
both. It's one of those things where regardless if you were in, it's one of those things like I got your back, period.
Right.
Like as long as you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Even if you deserve it, I'll get in there, but
Right.
you're going to get punched
Yeah.
in the face at least once
Yeah.
before I do anything.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
so.
So, all right, man. Well, this is we're going way
we're
off into the
off in a
weeds.
tangent.
We're in the weeds, just
Yeah,
like out in the
exactly.
middle of nowhere, just talking like.
We're-
But it's all we covered a lot of different stuff today. Actually, Kevin had a great story, man. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's great.
sitting down with you, dude. 2 deployments, man.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
you're still
Awesome.
rocking it. Served
Good
your country,
times.
and,
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
and now you still working down field, which is cool. You know,
Still serving your country.
And he's
just
blessed,
in a-
man. He's
in a
just-
different, in a
Yep.
different way.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do still rocking that government contract stuff. So there's
Oh, yeah.
nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely
No more contracts.
Right. Oh yeah. Try to stay away from that at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for coming in, dude. We
appreciate it.
really enjoyed. I really enjoyed listening
I
to your stuff.
love listening to everybody's stories.
Oh yeah, and you know, and it's great because he had some pretty, pretty harrowing stuff in there. I mean,
Yeah,
regardless of the veteran that comes in, man, they've all got something. Everybody as a veteran has a story to share, whether you think that they did some crazy stuff or not.
Yeah.
It's
matter-
still find it interesting in my book.
No matter how small or how big you think your contribution was, you still made a contribution.
Absolutely.
Because you might be a small cog, but you're in the giant machine.
Right. You know what the great part?
Regardless-
No one can take that away from you.
Exactly. It's with you for your life. Like,
That's right.
it's one of those things that when you get older and you ever wonder, like, did I ever do anything worth in
Right.
my life?
Yep.
Absolutely.
You're a piece of history, regardless.
Exactly. Regardless of how small or how big
Yep.
you were, you made history.
You impacted somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
yeah.
Yep. And now that you bring that up, kind of brings back some of the other
Yeah,
memories,
here we go again.
like
Yeah.
whenever
It's great.
whenever we were over there, one of the things that my company did was like a lot of the small towns around Mosul. We go out and we do projects for them, trying to
Oh, absolutely.
make their life better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When we went to Bakuba, that was at the time it was Al Qaeda's like main headquarters,
Right.
and they had Sharia law going like hardcore there. Like people were getting executed for smoking cigarettes.
Which
and-
everybody in Iraq smokes.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think there's
And
anybody that doesn't smoke. Kids
so-
probably smoke in Iraq.
I think I bummed cigarettes from a kid once.
See?
I think I can't confirm or
Probably.
deny that. So
Probably.
Right?
Don't
Right.
But
quote me.
No one's gonna judge you.
We were there when that they would give out like rations of rice and stuff like that to rice and flour and all that stuff to the people, and we were there when they reopened the rice plant or whatever, where they were giving out
Right.
the rice to the people at
rations and
Bakuba
stuff like
for
that,
the
yeah.
first time in months that these people had been able to get food, because Iraq is such a plentiful land that I'm sure they were getting lots of good food and stuff. So that was kind of my point, where it's like whether I agreed with the reasons for going into Iraq or not.
Right.
That was a point where it's like we're doing good right here.
Yeah, you're right, man.
You know,
It's really sucks. I really hate how people put, because both Iraq, Afghanistan were. Dude, I've got pictures. I can probably post them on here. Many pictures
Oh, yeah.
of helping the kids, the people out there, and you do make an impact other than fighting
Oh, yeah.
the bad guys.
the media shows us bombing stuff, destroying buildings or anything. They never show us like building aid stations,
Right.
helping with
Schools.
schools,
Yeah,
like taking care of people, because we didn't do anything. They're just sick, and
Right.
they these they'll bring their kids up, and
Right.
and their kids are sick because they have like, I don't know, pneumonia or something that we didn't cause,
Right.
but we're still there, like
Or
they
just-
they don't show any of
No.
us doing good stuff. So it's always,
Right.
I love hearing stories about like,
Yeah.
we helped people.
And real quick, because I don't want to do this, but like we used to actually, so in the Battle of Fallujah 2, when we used to go into all the different, we found like just stacks of money
Yeah.
from Iraq. Well, a lot of the families came back in and their places are destroyed. And we had one family that it was just older brothers and 2 young siblings.
Yeah,
And literally every money that we would finding in there, we'd give it to that family.
sure.
So, and a lot of times you turn that stuff in, but
Yeah.
dude, we destroyed their house, man. They had nowhere to live. So this is the kind of stuff you do is, trying to be good. I mean,
As a
we give
decent
them enough to,
human being.
right. I mean, this is just people too.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the biggest thing that to me, like, these are just people. Like there's bad guys out there, but like a majority of the people we met in, like, a lot I met in Iraq, probably you met in Afghanistan, like, they're just people.
they are people. Yeah.
There's nothing. The only difference between is we live in different countries. And
Well,
they have
the culture's different,
well,
but yeah,
they have
that's
different
it.
rules and stuff that they live by, but
Right.
they're just human beings
Right.
trying to live.
Right.
They're caught in the middle of this
Right.
giant war that's going on, and they're just trying to survive. But they're just
Yeah.
they're just people like everybody else. You know, you could walk down the street and meet somebody at the gas station,
Oh yeah.
and that's a person. You could be, you know, on patrol in Iraq or Afghanistan and run into somebody. That's just a person. Like
Right.
the majority of the time, that's all it is. You know, no ill intent. They're just trying to live their life.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, I enjoyed this, man. I'm gonna.
We could keep going for a
Yeah,
while.
I know.
but
I can go
we've already-
all
yeah.
night, man. This is gonna be.
We've
You guys
already
probably
pushed it a
get
while.
tired of listening
Yeah.
to us. So
I don't know. I never get tired of listening to stories. I can listen to stories.
I'm saying I'm getting tired of listening to
He's,
myself.
he's
I
just
just
thinking
look
about all the editing he's going to have to do.
Well, he is. He's got a lot of editing to
Oh,
go.
don't reply.
But hey, we enjoyed. If you tuned into this, we enjoyed you checking it out.
definitely.
Definitely
Yeah,
check
thank
out the
you
VOP, the Veterans OP site, if you get a chance to do that. We also do Twitch streaming and
Twitch.tv/VOP Gaming.
Yep, and I think that's pretty much it, right? Until next time.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. Have a good one.